NASCAR on Fox proudly presents the Great American Race, the 55th Daytona 500. And here's a look at the Geico starting grid for today's race. Danica Patrick, four-time series champ Jeff Gordon, row 1. Kevin Harvick, 13th driver to win Unlimited and the Duel. And Kyle Busch, who won Duel number 2 in row 2. Greg Biffle won a July race here. And Casey Kane, who finished 7th in this race twice. Well, Pablo Montoya, top 10 here 2 of the last 3 years. And rookie Austin Dillon. Jimmy Johnson, the 2006 winner, and Clint Boyer, the runner-up in the standings last year. Kurt Busch, a 3-time runner-up in this race, and Matt Kenseth, 2-time winner. Tony Stewart, 15th try to win the Daytona 500. Mark Martin trying for the 29th time. Series champ Brad Keselowski with Paul Menard, top 10 here the last 2 years. Casey Mears, runner-up in 2006, and Jeff Burton, the 2000 July winner here. Dale Earnhardt Jr., the 2004 race winner. Jamie McMurray won it in 2010. Joey Logano finished 9th last year next to David Reagan, who won the July race 2 years ago. Bobby Labonte, runner-up in 98. Marcus Ambrose, 13th last year. David Gilliland, 3rd in 2011. And Eric Almirola in the number 43 that won this race 7 times. Rookie Ricky Stenhouse, veteran Joe Nemechek. If you have a look back through the starting lineup, there is Michael Waltrip, 2-time Daytona 500 champion, next to Dave Blaney.
Let's talk to the man with the hot hand. What do you say? Hey, Kevin Harvick, it's a DW. You got a copy?
Yes, sir, I do.
Hey, buddy, it looks like the Danica's going to choose the outside. That's going to put Jeff Gordon over there in front of you. Good move, bad move?
Top, you know, you have a little more of an option with the side draft and stuff, but, you know, I think we're just either one. Whoever's down here, we're going to push like crazy, try to keep this track position here the best we can all day.
Kevin, Danica's a rookie. Does that concern you at all?
I think so. I mean, she's done enough restarts and things now. You know, I think she's going to do fine. So just treat her just like any of the other guys would. You want to do the best you can all day, and we'll just race as hard as we can every lap.
Well, we saw Keelan up on the wheel in the shot there before the race. I guess Dad's ready to go, right? Up on the wheel too?
Yeah, we're ready to go. Yeah, he's been here all week and seems to have been the good luck charm, hopefully, before the race. So hopefully he's got one more in him today.
Well, get out the broom, buddy. You're the only guy that's got a shot. Good luck.
Thank you, guys.
Harvick looking for the clean sweep today. Today's race is brought to you by Budweiser, the beer that starts with full flavor and ends with a crisp, fast finish. Great times are waiting. Grab some Buds. Let's get late breaking stories from pit road, beginning with Steve Burns.
Well, thank you, Mike. Danica Patrick starts from the pole position, but will she be conservative? Absolutely not. Her crew chief, Tony Gibson, told me we've been holding her back for the past 4 days. He said, I told her treat it just like a video game. He said, we're going to race wide open all day long, Matt Yoakum.
Steve, today's 500 could fall right into the wheelhouse of outside pole sitter Jeff Gordon. We're now back to an old school type racing with this particular plate with a new car. It's a thinking man's game where strategy on the racetrack trumps all. The only hiccups this speed week for Gordon, a pit road speeding penalty during his duel, and this morning it took 3 trips through inspection because of a measurement issue on the right side of the car for them to get the green light. But this car has been fast all week, and Gordon trying to join an elite class of only 2 other guys that have won 4 or more Daytona 500s. Chris Devoda?
Well, if you've been on I-95 over the last week and a half, you have probably seen the 99 hauler of Carl Edwards. It's been traveling back and forth to Concord, North Carolina, dropping off damaged cars and returning new ones. That's what happens when you wreck 4 cars over the course of a month. It's been a tough speed weeks for Carl Edwards. He says, I'm done doing the research for everybody else. We are going to keep one intact and put it in victory lane. He goes to the back of the pack with that backup car. He's going to have to do it the hard way. Jeff Hammond.
Thanks there, Krista. Hey, this is my 37th Daytona 500, folks. And today I'm going to be reporting all around the Daytona International Speedway. But let me tell you something. Right now, I'm here at camera 10. The thing is, when Danica Patrick in car number 10 leads this field to the green, history's going to be made for the Great American Race. And it's all going to be happening right here on Fox.
thanks, Jeff. It's an overcast day in Daytona Beach. The temperature got up into the high 70s, close to 80 yesterday. Today, we might break 70 degrees. The asphalt at 79, a light breeze, mostly cloudy skies. The threat of rain continues to diminish. It'll take 200 laps to cover the 500 miles today. Pit road speed 55 miles per hour, and they'll get 40 to 44 laps from a tank of Sunoco unleaded racing fuel.
You heard Chris DeVoto talking about Carl Edwards. Trevor Bayne had issues in the Budweiser Duel. Backup cars, they're going to the rear, as well as Ryan Newman and Regan Smith, all starting from the rear of the field at the green flag.
For the 10th time in 500 history, a Chevrolet will pace the race. It's the all-new Chevrolet SS, Chevy's first rear-drive V8 performance sedan since 1996. The street version of the SS will debut this fall.
Clear out the hoses in there so we turn, never mind. Wait, clear the hoses out again.
That's NASCAR race director David Hoots. To his right, John Darby, the Sprint Cup Series director. And we'll hear some of those calls from the tower as this Daytona 500 unfolds. Danica Patrick, the pole sitter, has lane choice. She has chosen the outside lane as the Chevy SS pace car lights ablaze on the front, not the caution lights, brings them down for the start of the Great American Race.
Here is the Motor Racing Network show. Danica Patrick choosing the outside lane for the start. The pole sitter has that option.
Ray Lewis throws the green flag. Boogity, boogity, boogity. Let's just go racing.
Jeff Gordon got a little side draft off Patrick going into turn number 1, moves up to the high side and takes the lead. That's Harvick leading the inside lane from 4th place.
But that should make Danica feel real good. He could have stayed down there with Kevin Harvick, but he drove to the outside, picked up Danica for the draft. And here we come. The first lap of the Daytona 500 is about to be complete.
And from inside the front row, Jeff Gordon, 4-time series champion, will lead lap 1 of 200 from Patrick, Kyle Busch, and Casey Kane.
I think Jeff Gordon knew, though, if he wanted to lead that first lap, he was going to have to do exactly what he did and slid up in front of Danica Patrick in the 10 over in 1 and 2 up on the top side.
Larry, for all the things that made it inexperienced, she has a fast car. Just like we saw with Trevor Bayne here a couple of years ago. He had a fast car. People wanted to work with him, wanted to draft with him. I think that's where Danica is today.
Dale Earnhardt Jr., 18, stuck kind of mid-pack there with Tony Stewart.
He was the fastest in yesterday's final practice.
Yeah, and Stevie Letarte said that they found a little magic in the car in practice, and it showed with their practice speed, but he's caught in that kind of sucker hole right now.
5 cars single file at the front, including rookie Austin Dillon, grandson of championship and 500 winning car winner Richard Childress. Dillon's going to run the Nationwide Series this year and perhaps move up to Sprint Cup full-time next season. Keep an eye on him in the number 33. Whoa.
You know, clearly in the early going, just like we saw in the Budweiser duels, the high line is prevailing. But I see Kevin Harvick in the 29. It's almost like the other day in the Budweiser duel. The deeper we got into the race, he started making that bottom line work.
Well, and Larry, that's why Danica chose the outside for the start. They felt like that's where the momentum was. The inside will come back before the day's over.
This is Jeff Gordon's 21st Daytona 500. He has led 17 of his 21 starts.
Could you be in a happier place if you were Danica? You've got Jeff Gordon in front of you. You've got Kyle Busch behind you. She's kind of in the rocking chair, just being pushed along. Perfect spot for her at this point.
Hard to tell this week if Jeff Gordon is the best of those 4 Hendrick Chevrolets. A lot of folks are pointing to that blue car, the number 5 of Casey Kane, as having Hendrick's strongest shot to win this 500.
When I think about the 150s on Thursday, Jeff Gordon had the car to beat. He had a pit road violation, had to do a drive-through. It took him out of contention. But that 24 car and Jeff Gordon, they want to reverse the kind of year they had down here last year.
In the middle, Dale Earnhardt Jr. has some help. The yellow car with him is Joey Logano, new driver for Roger Penske. That team has switched to Fords. And right behind him, Nationwide Series champ Ricky Stenhouse, who moves up to the Sprint Cup Series for Jack Roush in a Ford.
But look at these cars. Nobody's going anywhere. You know, you can throw a blanket over the whole field right now.
Yeah, they're not being bashful about 3 wide. In fact, right now, coming to complete lap 6, 37 drivers separated by less than 2 seconds.
Well, Larry, we documented this yesterday in practice. These guys have had over 35 hours of practice testing at this racetrack. They've got it figured out. They've made all the adjustments in the car. I think it's the best it could possibly be for this race.
Here comes Harvick. On the inside, number 29 was 6th in line. He's now bringing Greg Biffle and the rest of that inside lane up to challenge for the lead.
This is exactly what we saw in the Gatorade Duel, and we need to keep an eye on Greg Biffle in that 16. He finished second in the Sprint Unlimited to Kevin Harvick, as well as second in his Budweiser Duel.
And I tell you the thing I like about Biffle's car in the 16, he keeps commenting about how well it drives and how well it handles. I know that's going to really pay off as we get into this race.
Boston Dillon, Clint Boyer, 33 and 15, part of that lead pack on the outside. And a new leader in the middle of the pack, Matt Kenseth, a 2-time 500 champion. Now he moves back up into the high group. Steve Burns.
And Mike, to Darrell's point about Greg Biffle in the 16, the other thing that Biffle said was his car runs really good in traffic. He wasn't even that concerned about how fast they ran by themselves. That car, that 16 car there, it runs good in traffic.
And right behind him, Jimmy Johnson in the 48. 5-time series champ. He's already run 5 times as many laps as he completed in last year's 500. Jeff Gordon to complete lap 7. We listened in on Danica Patrick during pre-race.
Well, everyone, you worked your butts off all month and all winter, and that's what put me here. So thank you for that. I'll do the best job I can to do my end of the deal today. But all in all, thank you for everything. You guys are awesome.
2005 Indy Racing League Rookie of the Year, 6-time most popular driver in IndyCar, and last year's NASCAR Nationwide Series most popular driver. Coming around to complete 8 laps, Jeff Gordon has led them all in this Daytona 500 as we take you side by side. 10 laps complete. Jeff Gordon's number 24 Chevrolet leads the way. He has now led more Daytona 500s than any driver, with the exception of Richard Petty and Dale Earnhardt. Danica Patrick started pole, chose the outside lane, and on lap 1 dropped into draft behind Jeff Gordon, and that's the way they continue. How about that third place Toyota of Kyle Busch? Here's Krista Voda.
Well, Mike Joy, Kyle Busch has momentum coming into this season. He didn't make the chase, but he scored more points in the last 10 races than anyone but the champ, Brad Keselowski. He's already won a dual race, a qualifying race on Thursday, and said, really, they've been fast since they unloaded. I know Darrell likes to use the phrase a hungry hound. Kyle Busch certainly is one.
Yeah, he texted me last night. I congratulated him on his success down here so far this week. He said, I just want to win some dadgum races.
Casey Kane, Austin Dillon, 4th and 5th in that lead pack. It's a 9-car breakaway at the front, and most of the field has settled single file for the moment. But Darrell, at 195 miles an hour in that front pack, how white-knuckled is that?
Well, these are the greatest drivers in the world, and they've been on this racetrack now for 10 days. So they're very comfortable with the car. This new Gen 6 car is a great race car. Drivers love it. I just think they're just out there right now working it hard, but they make it look so easy.
There's our Fox gyro cam as they slam off the 31-degree banking and back onto the straightaway flat. Now 17 degrees in the tri-oval.
And Darrell, through that tri-oval, you've talked about it. That's only 18 degrees of banking, and it's pretty much another corner almost.
It's amazing when you look at it. Oh, there we go. Whoa, I almost fell out of my seat. The gyro cam, I love that camera, Larry, but when you if you do an overhead of this racetrack, the turn in the tri-oval is a lot sharper than it looks like it is. And like you said, 18 degrees of banking, 200 miles an hour, very difficult area of the racetrack.
Kevin Harvick started 3rd and finds his way up into that top groove in 8th position. Matt Yoakum.
Mike, he's 8th in line. He was trying to make that bottom lane work, and he was gaining momentum when that middle group started to develop. But then guys started peeling off and diving up high, so Harvick did the same. But Kevin told me his car has been so good through Speedway, but the one big concern he had, as so many others, pit stops. Not in your box, but getting on the pit road. We've seen so many guys in practice lock up their tires, which could also throw off their strategy of no tires, 2 tires, having to go to 4.
Thanks, Matt. One car somewhat off the pace coming by start finish. You'll hear the sound of that engine, and it doesn't sound good for David Gilliland in the number 38 Ford, running on 7 cylinders. NASCAR has a minimum pace cars must maintain. They've told Gilliland to pick it up or take it to the garage.
I'm watching Danica. Larry, she's doing something that's making me a little nervous. She's running a little wee bit lower. I think she's trying to maybe get air to the radiator. But if she keeps dropping down in the turn, that 18 car is going to shoot and fill that gap, and you can see what's going to happen when he does.
16 laps complete so far. Jeff Gordon has led them all. Don't go away. We're going to take you side by side in this Daytona 500. 18 laps complete in the 55th annual Daytona 500 on Fox. 7 cars at the front of the field have established a gap on 3 followers, and then the rest of the pack here. One driver, Tony Stewart, keeps dropping out of line, trying to make something happen. Races hard on the inside, but without any help, without another car to draft with. He just simply pops back up in line where he started. And that number 14.
He was making it work through the corners, but where they were killing him was on the straightaways without any help.
There's a look at Stewart, 14, ahead of Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Joey Logano. Michael Waltrip has lost the draft along with Trevor Bayne, the winner 2 years ago, driving the Wood Brothers number 21. Here's what happened to Michael.
Easy here, easy. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. You're clear, you're clear. All good. No caution, no caution.
Looked like the 21 got loose, got sideways, and of course Michael had to get out of the gas, and that's a good example of what happens when you lead this, when you lose this lead group and you lose the draft. You're in jeopardy now of in not too many laps.
There's a look at Michael
Possibly
Waltrip
going a lap down.
with that Richard Petty tribute helmet. Remember, Bayne is in a backup car. Their primary car was destroyed in Thursday's qualifying race.
And that was my point about Danica. If Danica happens to get out of line, or if Kyle Busch happened to squeeze her out of line, you would go to the rear and you lose that draft. Yesterday, Mike, she lost the draft in the nationwide race. She thought the engine blew up.
Jeff Gordon, the leader. Here's Matt Yoakum.
Mike, slight concern in the Gordon pit. Jeff reported that the water temperature has climbed up over 240 degrees. Debris on the grill. He's leading the pack, so he can't dive in behind someone to try to change the airflow to try to get that debris to come off on its own. He did turn the engine fan on, and they're keeping the eye on the gauge.
Yeah, you can see it right there. There's an inlet there, and that's where the air goes through, and there it is. You can see it right there. And then that's blocking up a big portion of that inlet going in there to where the radiator is.
Yeah, because you're going to run this thing on minimum size, so it'll make the most speed it can make. But when you get paper on there, that's a big problem.
Now, it almost looks like he's trying to drop to the bottom and maybe get a little bit of a draft off Joe Nemechek in that 87. And Matt, maybe he'll get up there close enough, it'll go away.
Exactly right, Larry Mack. That's what he's trying to do. He just told Allen, I've got to get this debris off. The water temperature continues to climb.
Danica Patrick sensed that. So did Kyle Busch. They moved to the outside because if Gordon stayed behind Nemechek too long, he would lose the lead.
That aggressive 18 car, you can get that debris off all you want to, but if you move around here, move around much, I'm going to go right by both of you.
As you can see, it did not get it off. He just couldn't get close enough to Joe Nemechek in that 87,
yeah,
and we're a good 17 laps away from pit stops.
Right, the closing speed was just too much, Larry, for him to hang there.
And that engine, trust me, it won't live long down here if that temperature gets over 260 degrees.
Jeff Gordon leads the Daytona 500 as they complete 23 laps.
I've got the lead, and I'm not giving it up. It's NASCAR Racing on Fox.
We will complete the 27th lap of this Daytona 500 under the caution flag. Metal debris in turn number 3 puts us under yellow for the first time today. Joe Nemechek will get the free pass. He was 1 lap down. He'll be able to pass the pace car and come back around and retrieve that lost lap. As Jeff Gordon picks up where he left off, winner of the season finale at Homestead Miami Speedway last November.
But you know, Mike, I mean, it's almost like some of that Daytona luck, because if this caution hadn't come out, I'm thinking, Larry, he was going to have to pit and get that debris off the grill.
I think this is a blessing for him. I know he was loving out there leading this race, and I think now with pretty much pit road probably being open 28 laps, everyone will pit for fuel, but I think we'll see a lot of drivers elect to just go with 2 right side tires like we saw in the duels on Thursday.
Oh yeah, maybe even no tires.
Well, you've got to be there long enough probably to change 2 to fill up with fuel.
Jeff Gordon pulled up behind the pace car at 70 miles an hour, and the turbulence off the pace car took the papers off his grill.
Let's get up there close enough. It just completely changes the way the airflow and the pressure on the nose of that car, and you'll probably see it just pull right off.
Pretty interesting how delicately he pulled up there. Now, if they were racing and it was coming down to the end of the day, I bet he wouldn't be racing somebody that cleanly.
Now his crew won't have to do the work.
Jeff Gordon has led from turn 1 of the opening lap today. Last year, he finished 40th in the 500 with a failed engine. Here they come to pit road. Krista.
Kyle Busch had talked a little bit about a vibration, but it's because he had what we call sticker tires, fresh tires in NASCAR. He said, it's just a little snug. I only want 2, meaning only 2 tires. Matt?
Jeff Gordon impressed with his 24 car early on. The debris is off the grill. They're going to knock even more off right side tires and going to top them off with fuel. He's away, Steve.
Matt Danica Patrick says the car has good corner speed, good balance. She doesn't want any changes. Right side tires for her car. You see Casey Kane in the upper right. Right side for the 5 car as well.
All I know, with that many drivers on pit road, it was like Park Avenue at rush hour.
Here's the race off pit road. And Kyle Busch runs out of room trying to maintain pit road speed around Jamie McMurray.
The Daytona 500 on Fox is sponsored by Budweiser. Great times are waiting. Grab some buds. This past Wednesday, Kevin Harvick took a ride on the Budweiser Clydesdales and delivered a special package of Daytona 500 tickets to military veterans. Jason and Justin Ryder, the recipients, 22-year-old fraternal twins, and we thank them for serving our country. Let's head back upstairs to Mike Joy.
Thanks, Chris. Ready for the restart. Pace car is in. Jeff Gordon brings them down for the start with his Chevy teammate Casey Kane. Alongside, the way they came off pit road, Austin Dillon, the rookie, in the second row with Kyle Busch.
First test for Danica. I mean, she came in second, came on pit road running second. What can she do now that all these cars are up there all around her? See how she handles it.
Well, here comes five-time Jimmy Johnson, five-time series champion, 2006 winner. He's dropped his number 48 to the inside, and it's going to bring a couple of fast cars with him. Matt Kenseth, last year's winner, and Danica Patrick on the low groove to challenge Gordon and Kane on the high side. Can Johnson wrest the lead from his teammate Gordon at the stripe? Not this time. Gordon by a car length. Off into turn one. Good run there for the 48, along with Kenseth, Patrick, Boyer, and Montoya.
Now that inside woke up.
But look at Matt Kenseth in the 20 car. He jumped out from behind Jimmy Johnson, jumped to the top groove. Jimmy Johnson in the 48 did the same thing.
Matt Yoakum.
Mike, before the caution, Jimmy Johnson's Chevrolet was running warm. He turned the fan on, not to see if he could get the engine cooled down for that part of the race, but to see how quick it cooled down to know for later if he stuck back in the pack. Balance good, his car just a little free when it was up top.
Johnson first, Kenseth second with a push from Gordon. Oh, Kane! Kane gets around, slides across the track. Dillon misses him. More carnage down toward turn number one. Montoya, Harvick.
A real low apron.
All with damage as the caution comes out. Well, Keelan Harvick is not Dad's good luck charm today. Casey Kane, the blue Chevrolet number 5, the first car to go sideways, and then the secondary collision caught up Montoya, and Harvick were under the second yellow flag, working lap 33.
Our champion, Brad Keselowski, a lot of damage.
Champ's got a lot of damage. Tony Stewart.
Car owner Rick Hendrick looks on to see which of his cars will make it back to pit road. Watch on the outside, the number 5, the blue car, and behind him the yellow number 18.
Yeah, the 18 just got down on that inside, caught the left rear corner of the 5 car. That's a real vulnerable spot, and gave him a little tap and sent him sailing.
What a close call for Joey Logano on that 22. He was all the way down in the grass and dodged it.
Yeah, these guys on further down the track, they really got in it afterwards when people were slowing down.
Kane sideways, comes across the nose of Montoya. Logano misses him.
And Darrell, that was coming out of that trioval where you're running so fast with very little banking to hold you.
Somebody got into the back of Kevin Harvick's number 29, sending him down and then up into Stewart. Let's ride along in the Budweiser Chevy.
2x2 the whole way. Frank, stay high, stay in it, stay in it. We got turned in there, guys. We're tore up, terrible. Hold the brake, hold the brake. All right, let it roll left. You all right?
From 195 miles an hour to junk in about 4 seconds.
Jamie McMurray, the 1 car, so both of the Earnhardt Ganassi drivers involved. You see Casey Mears in the 13 been fast all week, a lot of damage.
And Tony Stewart's car will wait for the wrecker. Casey Kane sideways out of the trioval. Big pile up in Daytona.
The Daytona 500 on Fox is sponsored by Chevrolet. Find new roads. By Lowe's. Lowe's never stop improving. By Nationwide Insurance. Nationwide is on your side. And by Diet Mountain Dew. Yeah, it tastes that good.
Under caution for a 6-car pileup exiting the tri-oval past the start-finish line.
Let's watch the 20 car, Matt Kenseth, the 24 car of Jeff Gordon, and then Casey Kane. It's a little bit of a bottleneck, and I'm not sure if the 18 car of Kyle Busch saw something or caused something, but that 5 car all of a sudden looks like it gets loose all by itself. Can't tell if there was contact or not.
Cleaning up the caution, let's get downstairs for an AT&T race break.
Thanks, Mike. And updating a story that developed yesterday here at the Daytona racetrack. 5 of the 12 spectators who were injured in Saturday's Nationwide Series race at Daytona International Speedway have been released, and getting word that others have been stabilized. Remember, it was when Kyle Larson slammed into the catch fence, separating the front end of his car, debris going into the grandstand. The 13 drivers involved in the crash did not suffer serious injury, but 5 of the 12, those that were taken to the area hospital, Halifax Medical Center, have been released, and the others have been stabilized. Encouraging news so far, considering what happened yesterday. This has been an AT&T race break brought to you by the nation's fastest network, AT&T. Rethink possible.
Jamie McMurray out of his car, Kevin Harvick and Tony Stewart. Those cars towed back to the garage area. Racetrack is cleaned up. Pace car is in. We're going to resume this race at lap 36. Green flag over Jimmy Johnson. Matt Kenseth tucked up under him. Danica Patrick on the outside now with Jeff Gordon.
Outside line got off to a bit of a slow start. That inside line with those 3 cars on the bottom right there, they got the head of steam right now. We'll see if Danica can pull back on the outside. That's been pretty good for that outside line.
Johnson, Kenseth, and Boyer on the inside line with Biffle. They head off into the 31-degree banking of turn 3. Let's crank it up. Jimmy Johnson and now Matt Kenseth. The Chevy and a Toyota have now led this Daytona 500. 38 laps complete. 34 cars on the lead lap. Let's go to the garage area. Chris Devoto.
Thanks, Mike. Jamie McMurray outside of his race car has not seen the incident yet. We're going to show you a replay of what happened. Go ahead and watch this and tell us in your words what we're seeing.
Well, honestly, I was so far behind. I have no clue as to what happened. Someone said that the 5 car. It's hard to analyze something on TV versus sitting in the seat. I actually got slowed down, and you know, part of everybody being that close together, the guy behind me didn't, and I got spun around and I was okay. But when the splitter hit the grass, it just ripped the whole splitter off. So we have a really torn up McDonald Chevrolet, but I didn't really hit anything. It was just the grass.
So can the guys get this fixed and get you back out there?
Well, fixed would be. I guess we can get it fixed. We'll get back out and run around, but it's so frustrating. You know, I got put in a bad position at the beginning, and I intentionally went to the back because I felt like they were going to have a wreck, and I maybe just raced too cautiously today. I was really just trying to get it to the end, and still didn't make it.
Thanks, Jamie. Jeff Hammond.
Thanks, Krista. We just caught up here with Kevin Harvick. Just came out of the infield care center. You okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. I saw the 5 spinning and just breathed out the throttle just a touch, and I think somebody got me just a little bit from the back and got in the outside wall and then took a couple of pretty good shots there, but everything's fine.
Take a look right here. You can see what happened here.
Yeah, Kyle Busch turned to 5, and then I think the 55 just got me just a touch when I let off the throttle, but that's just part of this game. We've had a great week. We'll rebound next week in Phoenix and get on with our season.
Thanks, Kevin.
Joining them in the garage, Juan Pablo Montoya, Casey Mears, Tony Stewart, Joe Nemechek.
I bet he is looking forward to going to Phoenix. It's one of his favorite tracks.
I've been watching Clint Boyer in that 15 car. Remember, runner-up in the championship last year, driving for Michael Waltrip Racing. He keeps trying to pull that group up to the front. In fact, he took the lead just for a moment. Now he's starting to lose some ground.
He was trying that old side draft, Larry. He'd run that thing over and get up on the door and then try to swing out. But, man, that bottom it just really is hurting today.
42 laps, 105 miles. Here's a look at our Toyota top performers. Matt Kenseth, who's won 2 of the last 4 500s, is on point for car owner Joe Gibbs. Clint Boyer for Michael Waltrip Racing 5th. Kyle Busch for Gibbs in 6th, and Mark Martin for Waltrip in 9th.
I love that piece in the pre-race on Clint Boyer. Said he built an office. After I built it, I'm not sure why I built it. I don't like spending no time in an office.
When I looked at it, I could see why. It's a weird. You know what? He is living proof that there's magic in a helmet.
Yes.
When he puts that helmet on, he's a totally different guy than when he's outside.
Very focused individual.
Yeah.
Fellow wants either a steering wheel or a wrench in his hand. Triple decker coming out of turn number 2. Trevor Bayne on the inside. That's Mark Martin's number 55 and Michael McDowell in the K-Love car. Here comes Eric Almirola for Richard Petty as you watch from Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Yeah, that caution on lap 26 was a blessing for Trevor Bayne because he had actually lost the draft based on what happened earlier with Michael Waltrip when he had to jump out of the throttle.
But Mike, Larry, I've seen the 88 in the middle so many times and it just sends him right to the rear.
Earnhardt finds a place to run behind Scott Speed up on the high side. Let's join Jeff Hammond.
Hey, yes, I'm down here with Tony Stewart. Just came out of the infield care center. Tony, if you can tell us kind of like what happened from your viewpoint.
We just saw the 5 get turned around, and then the 29 car got turned around too, and it's kind of right in the middle of the racetrack, so didn't know exactly where to go. So we tried to go high, and Kevin's car rolled back. So just closed the door. Just one of those things that can't control.
Take a look here on your in-car.
Yeah, everybody, we're just trying to get stopped right here, and everything's going the right way till there, so just run out of room. So, if I didn't tell you I was heartbroken and disappointed, I'd be lying to you. It's, we had a car that was really, really good. I mean, we were the only guy passing anybody, so, and a lot of times doing it by ourselves, so was pretty happy with the way our race was going. Just, trying some things and trying to pick them off one at a time and try to get ourselves in the top 5 there.
Thanks, Tony. Sorry for bad luck. Krista?
Well, Jeff, somebody else who had a good car was Casey Kane. That car is in the garage. Casey is out of it to talk to us right now. I know you talked about getting bumped from behind. Is this a nature of just plate racing and tight packs and this new side draft?
Well, it had nothing to do with side drafting or anything. I mean, we were just running the line, and the front 3 cars, for whatever reason, slowed up pretty quickly. So I was just on the brakes. I didn't hit Jeff. And I don't know, I mean, Kyle probably was getting pushed from behind or something too. So it just all happened really fast. And, we shot to the infield. And when I hit the grass is when it tore the car apart the most. But we had a fast Farmers Insurance Chevy SS for the last week. Just didn't end very well. I wanted to race. I didn't want to sit single file up by the wall like everybody was doing. I didn't want that at all, but that's what we were doing.
Disappointment to start the season for Casey Kane.
Thanks, Krista. Looking at replays, we didn't see obvious contact, but here's what Kyle Busch had to say.
That was my bad. I was lifted. I got into him. I don't know if I got help from behind before or after I hit him, but my bad.
That's what I saw. I saw up there with Jeff Gordon, they were starting to bottle up a little bit. You heard Casey Kane say I had to get off the gas. When he did, Kyle Busch was into the back of him. It's that accordion effect that this kind of racing creates.
Matt Kenseth leads from Jimmy Johnson, Danica Patrick, Jeff Gordon, and Kyle Busch. 46 laps complete.
The Daytona 500 on Fox is sponsored by Sprint. Millions of fans, one family. Only Sprint can beat them all. Join the family at sprint.com/speed.
50 laps complete. That's 125 of the 500 miles we'll run today. Matt Kenseth. New team, Joe Gibbs Racing. New manufacturer for Kenseth, Toyota. New crew chief, new spotter, but he is out front now. He's led 13 laps today. Here's an inside look with unlimited access to the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. Jeff Gordon has led the most laps so far. Get unlimited access with the NASCAR Mobile 13 app and truly unlimited data from Sprint. Learn more at sprint.com/speed. Down to Matt Kenseth's pit. Krista.
Mike, you mentioned new team. That includes new crew members over the wall for this driver. The good news, Matt Kenseth, as you said, is leading. The bad news, he came on the radio a couple of laps ago and said he's feeling a slight vibration. The team told him, we think the 11, your teammate Denny Hamlin, has the same thing. Matt came back on the radio and said, I've dissected the problem. To me, it's a loose wheel on the right side. Wheel or tire, he's not sure. He feels it on the right side of his car.
Boy, at 200 miles an hour, it's not going to take very long to know which one it is. If it's a loose wheel, it'll get a lot worse. Matt is real sensitive. He always picks up little things in his race car that a lot of other drivers don't. He's real sensitive, but also, like, he's in a totally new environment. And I think just today, finally, he might have found his comfort zone.
Larry, what's the consequence, the possible consequence of a loose lug nut?
Well, what'll happen, they'll just continue to get looser, and eventually there's a possibility the center of that wheel could break out. We're very deep into this run, about 27 laps, which means, honestly, we're about 14 to 16 laps from what will be scheduled pit stops.
And Mike, you're not going to set out there with a loose wheel. Not at Daytona. Maybe at Phoenix or somewhere else, but not at Daytona. And he's smart enough, and he's been around long enough, he knows the difference.
53 laps complete. Let's go back to the crash here with Brad Keselowski, the Sprint Cup Series champion. Kasey Kahne comes across, and Keselowski tries to miss it and gets into Kevin Harvick. Here's Steve Burns.
And Mike, you saw two pieces of damage there. One to the left front, but one to the right front. That's what really hurt his number 2 car. It was causing the splitter, the bottom piece of the front nose, to hit the racetrack. So they added some packers to the shocks on both sides to help raise the front of it off the ground. And he's saying right now, every time I try to make a move, I'm going backwards.
But in the draft, and you can see all the damage there on the right front, but as long as he's tucked up behind other drivers, his speeds right now are pretty much mirroring what the lead pack's running right now.
And then when I look at his steering wheel location, the front of the car, the suspension of the car is not bent or out of whack. The steering wheel is level like it's supposed to be. That's what the driver always looks for when he's in an accident. Am I having to hold it to the right? Am I holding it to the left? His wheel is still very centered. That means the front of the car is perfect.
6 cars are in the garage area, and because of championship points, Jeff, some teams are thrashing to get back on track.
Yes, they are, Mike. And right now, we're down here with Tony Stewart bunch, and Tony told me they're trying to get it fixed. You can see they've got a spare nose already sitting here. They've actually Zeus fastened the front half of these fenders back on. That's where they'll make the cut at. It's already got a radiator mounted inside of it. They're prepared to slide this nose up on there as soon as they take the old one off and be able to get this car back out on the racetrack to get those valuable points. And also, I don't want to leave out the other guys that are working over beside us as far as the 29, the 5, and the 42. They are all trying to effect repairs to get their drivers back out for valuable points.
You know, I'm watching, though, this front group of drivers, and we're about a fourth of the way through the Daytona 500. And I think the question on Danica Patrick in the 10, she was fast at the test. She was fast in practice, and she was on the pole. But could she race these guys? Steve, 125 miles into it, holding a pretty wheel right now.
And Larry Mack, I was just listening to her talking to crew chief Tony Gibson. She's not even pushing the car that hard right now. Everything she said about the car is complimentary. It has good balance. It has good corner speed. In fact, on the pit stop, she said, hey, you guys, if I'm not doing something right, you tell me. Tony Gibson said you're doing everything right so far today.
Yeah, that's a couple of things that worry me. A green flag pit stop. These guys are really aggressive. We saw them smoking tires every time they came on pit road. Can't lose a lot of time under green if we end up there. And Larry, she has great feedback. And this, in my opinion, she looks at this Daytona racetrack like it's Indy. And she was awesome at Indy every time she raced here. I think she feels that comfortable here at Daytona.
Miranda Lambert tweets, "I'm so proud of my girl Danica Patrick, who right now runs third."
The action is just starting to heat up, so stay tuned for more NASCAR on Fox.
The Daytona 500 is sponsored by the new 2013 Ford F-150 with EcoBoost. By Dr. Pepper and Diet Dr. Pepper, always one of a kind. By Subway, the biggest footlong event of the year is here. It's February at Subway. And by Samsung Galaxy Note 2. The next big thing is here.
With 152 miles complete, today's Ford EcoBoost track facts. Ford has won the last two Daytona 500s. First time they've won it in consecutive years. In fact, Fords have won 3 of the last 4 Daytona 500s.
Mike, right now, teammates dominate our top 5. We got 3 Hendrick cars. Basically, Pat Danica is pretty much a Hendrick car, and the 2 Gibbs cars with Kenseth and Kyle running 5th. Kyle Busch in the 18 running 5th. Teammates are prevailing right now, but working together.
Look at this front 5. Kenseth, Johnson, Gordon, and Busch. Between them, 195 Sprint Cup wins. And right in the midst of them, Danica Patrick with just 10 Sprint Cup races under her belt. Matt.
Mike, looking ahead to pit strategy, Jay Guarnieri from Danica Patrick's team came down and spoke with Alan Gustafson to find out when the 24 would hit pit road. They're expecting to pit in about 8 more laps. Gordon's had one other issue. Besides losing the lead, he's had a water pressure issue twice. He has pushed water during this run.
Matt, it might be from that paper that was on the grill earlier. Maybe he lost a little water, and that's affecting the water pressure.
But you saw the crew member for Danica Patrick down there in those pits. Here in Talladega, you always want to make sure you have some dance partners to pit with, because you don't want to be out there on the track running by yourself. You're going to be much slower the way the draft works.
Matt Kenseth and his crew have communicated he no longer believes he has a loose wheel, so it does not necessitate an unplanned stop. He said there is a slight vibration in the rear. Not quite sure what it is, but Darrell, he doesn't want to give up that lead.
Oh, no, and Mike, Larry and I were talking about it. If it was a loose wheel, it would have just continually got worse. He would have been to pit road long before now. So a little vibration, maybe a tire out of balance, or maybe the wind buffing the car around is causing him to have a little vibration.
64 laps, Kenseth leads in a Toyota. Jimmy Johnson second is the first Chevrolet, and Joey Logano in sixth is the first to the new Ford Fusions. In this Daytona 500, 136 laps to go. Strategy being discussed. Green flag pit stops coming up soon.
The Daytona 500 on Fox is sponsored by AT&T. Rethink possible. If you call yourself a sports fan, you got to get DirecTV. Call 1-800-DirecTV. Our look from above, we thank DirecTV for that on lap 68 of 200 in the Great American Race. The first 31 laps led by Jeff Gordon. An 8-driver wreck took out 2 of the favorites. Tony Stewart, one of those, trying to work his car back into shape to get back on the track. A 3-time champion, but 0 for 14 in this, his 15th Daytona 500. Matt Kenseth, a two-time Daytona 500 winner, your leader, ahead of Jimmy Johnson. And Danica Patrick, who has yet to lead a lap, has stayed in the top 10 all afternoon. She slipped back to 9th after the early caution, has worked her way back up to 3rd. Let's rejoin Darrell, Larry, and Mike.
Thanks, Chris. Rookie Austin Dillon makes a pit stop and scoots back out. He'll be all by himself. Darrell, talk about the challenges of getting onto pit road from 195 miles an hour.
Well, you know, we talk about Danica's inexperience. She's up there with a bunch of veteran race car drivers. I'm just afraid she might get run over or run over somebody if she has to pit coming off the turn 4 there, run 180 miles an hour. That's a challenge.
You saw Brad Keselowski in the 2 car there locking him up as he pits with Mark Martin and Regan Smith. The under caution, you're going from caution car speed 70 to 55, now almost 200 to 55, making a green flag stop.
Steve Burns.
And Mike, the update from Brad Keselowski. He says, I'm poking the nose of the car to keep it cool. It was 250 degrees. I got it down to 240. I'm starting to struggle for grip, too. 2 car is loose.
Jamie McMurray back in the race. He was involved in that crash at lap 33.
She's going to get busy this time.
Here they come. Some of the leaders peel off toward pit road. When they get to that orange cone, they've got to be down to 55 miles an hour. Jimmy Johnson, Jeff Gordon, Danica Patrick are in with Joey Logano, Greg Biffle, Eric Almirola, and Michael McDowell.
So far, so good.
Matt?
And Mike, the Hendrick teammates, Johnson and Gordon, they come to a stop. Gordon expected to take 4 tires. Remember, the first stop they took 2. His car was free back in the pack. The same thing for the 48 of Jimmy Johnson. Steve?
And Matt, it's going to be a 4-tire change for Danica Patrick. No changes otherwise. She likes the way her car is handling right now. No changes to the 10 car, 4 tires, and she's away.
Scott Speed, Trevor Bayne, and Kurt Busch also stopped on this lap. More takers this time around at lap 71. Here is Matt Kenseth with Kyle Busch. Krista.
We talked about Matt's slight vibration. The team also saying not only are they new to Matt, Matt is new to them. They're having trouble hearing him on the radio is the biggest issue. Also, Kyle Busch in this stop. Kyle Busch talking a little bit about his car being hot. There you see Kyle Busch making a 4-tire change on this stop. They took 2 tires on their earlier pit stop. Oh, a little trouble on the 18 as well. The Jack Falls. Matt.
And the 15 and the 56, the both MWR cars away. Boyer pleased with his car, no real complaints.
56 of Truex has had a great race, fighting his way from 35th on the grid up to 8th place just before pit stops.
But that pit stop by Kyle Busch's crew, that's going to put him on the verge of losing the lead draft by a lot.
We understand pit road penalties may be coming as Paul Menard comes to pit road. Here is David Hoots, the race director.
43, too fast exiting, section 7, pass through. 43, too fast exiting, section 7, pass through.
Eric Almirola was running 13th, and too fast in one of those electronically timed sections means he must come down and drive down pit road. That's a pass through at 55 miles an hour. While the race continues at over 190.
Section 7 is the last section leaving pit road. It's only 75 feet. It's very short, but he was too fast there.
And Larry, Mike, I think another check in Danica's scorecard made a great pit stop right back out there, pretty close to where she came in.
Ryan Newman and Michael Waltrip at the front of the pack. They have yet to make their second stop. As you have a look at Kyle Busch's pit stop. The car goes down on the jack. New leader in the Daytona 500 as we cycle through green flag pit stops. Denny Hamlin racing a Toyota for Coach Joe and J.D. Gibbs. He's out in front of this pack, and Martin Truex Jr. from 35th to 2nd in his Michael Waltrip Toyota. Then Kenseth, Johnson, and Gordon.
Well, you talk about Martin Truex Jr. starting 35th. Denny Hamlin started back in the 33rd position. So quite a move in these first 70-something laps by those two drivers.
Yeah, the pit stops, you know, really shake things up. How you get in, how you get out, make up a lot of time, a lot of track position.
Jeff Gordon 5th, Greg Biffle 6th in his Ford. Joey Logano's Ford 7th. Danica Patrick, her Chevrolet is 8th. The Chevy of Dale Earnhardt Jr. 9th, and the Toyota of Clint Boyer 10th.
Our top 16 drivers separated by just a little over a second and a half right now.
Larry, I know you look at this and you know the cars are single file, but you can't afford to pull out and try to pass unless you get a lot of people that want to help you.
Steve?
Hey, Mike, the update on Dale Earnhardt Jr. He's been having a hard time getting his car to turn coming off of turn 4. On the last stop, they had a great pit stop. They took 4 tires and they made a chassis adjustment to help him get that 88 to turn.
Earnhardt is 9th, and I believe that's the first time he's been higher than 15th most all day.
That car has just not been happy. They thought they fixed it yesterday, but they don't have it just
Danica
right.
Patrick has fallen back just a bit.
Got just a little bit of a vibration as I came out this time when I'm hard in the throttle. I can feel it at the throttle stop.
All right, 10-4. If it gets any worse, just keep us abreast of it.
And that's about all the team can tell her. If it gets worse, bring it to us. Otherwise, just feel it out.
But that Kenseth, that little vibration, you know, you got to ride it out. And these tires, when you monkey with the air pressure in the tire, inner line or outside tire, sometimes you can get them get a little out of balance and get a little vibration.
Steve?
And Mike, what she is doing a great job of is when she gets hooked up in that draft, she knows when to run full throttle and when to back off of the throttle just a little bit to keep the momentum going. So she's doing an impressive job of getting that momentum going for her in the right direction.
What Danica's saying, she feels the vibration in the ball of her right foot when she has the throttle matted all the way to the floor. Now, another driver that had a vibration during that last green flag run was Matt Kenseth. Steve?
Actually, Mike, I'm down here in Matt Kenseth's pit. That's okay. We're checking the tires. When they came off the car, I talked with car chief Jason Shapiro. He said they do not think it was a loose wheel based on what they saw, but they were going to check the balance of the 4 tires that came off of his machine. Like Darrell was talking about how important these inner liners are, they think it may have been an inner liner issue. You're seeing Jason Ratcliffe up on the pit box right now. Tire specialist Gerald Shires was just checking the tires. They think that may have been the issue for Matt's car.
These cars run, believe it or not, they run so smooth that if any little thing starts to go is off, like a tire being a slight out of balance, you really, really, really feel it.
All right, take a look at Martin Truex in 2nd place, and now let's go to Matt.
Mike Martin thought he had a problem developing on the 56. After that pit stop where they took on 4 tires and made no adjustments because he liked the balance, he said the car has a vibration. He thought he might have a wheel loose, and Chad Johnson asked him after a couple of laps, has the vibration progressively gotten worse? He says, no, it may be just a wheel weight. So they're holding station in 2nd right now, waiting to see.
Thanks, Matt. One of the feel-good stories of this Daytona 500. Michael McDowell driving for Phil Parsons Racing in a car they didn't receive at their shops until early January. He's in 12th place. Has a career best finish of 20th.
A lot of people think this new Gen 6 car is an equalizer, that it gives a lot of teams an opportunity to really showcase what they got, because nobody knows a lot about this car yet.
83 laps complete. We're closing in on halfway in the 55th Daytona 500. 85 laps, caution out for debris. As we take an inside look and get unlimited access to the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series with the free NASCAR Mobile 13 app and truly unlimited data on the Sprint network. Matt Kenseth's Toyota has now led the most laps in this Daytona 500, and you can get unlimited access to NASCAR and unlimited data from Sprint with no metering, no throttling, and no overages. Learn more at sprint.com/speed.
Would not be a bit surprised to see maybe some fuel only stops here, because it's only been about 8 to 12 laps since they were on pit road. Krista.
Larry McReynolds, you are a very smart man. That is the plan for Matt Kenseth. After all, tires have been the issue for them, so he's going to take care of them because it's fuel only. Oh, problem in the 20, Matt.
And down in the 56 and the 11, fuel only for the two Toyotas of Truex and Hamlin. Steve?
Same thing for Danica Patrick, Matt. Fuel only. The team saying she only had 13 laps on her tires. She was asking for traffic coming down pit road. Good stop.
Larry, you made a great point in practice the other day. Her pit is a great pit stall, but she can't get going to get to the line. And these guys are going by her at the end of the pit road down here.
The problem that Matt Kenseth had was Ryan Newman coming into his pit as Kenseth was trying to exit. Whoops.
The Daytona 500 is sponsored by KFC. Come in today and taste why fresh is better. By Ram, engineered to move heaven and earth. Guts, glory, Ram. By DirecTV. If you call yourself a sports fan, you gotta get DirecTV. And by Sprint. Millions of fans, one family. Only Sprint can feed them all. Join the family at sprint.com/speed. Part of our family is Michael Waltrip, analyst here in the Hollywood Hotel, and driving the two-time Daytona 500 winner is your leader. Lap 87 of 200 to go. A quick recap. History-making pole sitter Danica Patrick said on the radio at the start of the race to her crew, let's have a smooth, flawless day. I'll try and hold up my end of the bargain. She's hung around in the top 10 most of the day. Jeff Gordon led the first 31 laps within 4 of the Daytona 500 all-time record held by Bill Elliott. But Kyle Busch and Casey Kane get into it, an 8-driver wreck that took out 2 of the favorites for this race, Tony Stewart and Kevin Harvick. And look at Joey Logano somehow weave his way through that. Worth keeping an eye on just a little bit later in the race. So far, Matt Kenseth has led the most laps so far. Let's check in over at the smart board with our Jeff Hammond here in the Hollywood Hotel.
That's what you called me a minute ago. Hey, folks, we want to show you real quick. We're getting this to about halfway, and here on our Ford, Tech board here, we got 2 Fox cars. I want to show you what's going on. We keep talking about side drafting all week long. Hopefully, we can explain it to you to where maybe you get a better understanding. You imagine this is what's going on. This is the wake of the air as it comes around the car that's out in the lead. This is the wake of the air of the car that's trying to pass them. What you'll notice is this wake comes in through there, all of a sudden they come together. And in this area here, they're fighting one another. They're bouncing off the side of one another. You've also got the exhaust trying to come out that hits this. All of this right here confusing the air between these 2 cars. And as we get late in the race, this is really going to come into play because guys are going to be diving inside, trying to slow the car in front down to be able to make the pass and hopefully win the Daytona 500. Mike?
Thank you, Jeff. Getting ready to resume after this 3rd caution of the day for debris. In the outside lane, on pole, the Sandy Hook Relief Fund number 26, the Swan Energy racing car owned by Brandon Davis and 4-time Super Bowl winner Bill Romanowski from Vernon, Connecticut. Michael Waltrip, 2-time winner at the wheel. Danica Patrick back up in the top 2. She will lead the outside lane for this restart as we complete 89 of 200 laps. We're back under green. Patrick edges ahead into turn 1. Boyer gives her a little space with his teammate, number 11, Denny Hamlin, and number 20, Matt Kenseth.
I haven't heard cheering like this at this racetrack since Dale Jr. took the lead at one time or another. This is a really, really big deal.
We'll know in about a mile, can she become the first female to lead a lap in the Daytona 500?
Hamlin coming hard on the inside now with Kenseth. Under green, fans to their feet, to the line. She's done it. Danica Patrick has led the Indy 500 and the Daytona 500.
And these fans were cheering. They were on their feet.
All right, check that box.
Another one.
You know, earlier on the first green flag stop, she fell back from 3rd to 7th, but we analyzed the times, Larry. It was through no fault of her own.
Actually, her crew, compared to another one of the leaders up there, was almost 2 seconds off on the pit stop itself.
Listen, you know me, I like to get in there and see what the driver's doing. Look at, she's looking behind her, she's checking her mirrors, and she is not wrestling or fighting with that car at all. That car is driving to perfection. It gives her, she's so comfortable. She can look behind her and see where everyone is. In the corner, 31 degrees of banking, and that car is stuck like glue. What a great job the team has done, and what a great job she's doing.
In 1977, Janet Guthrie led 5 laps under caution. Danica Patrick, 30 years old, from Roscoe, Illinois, the first woman driver to lead a lap under green in NASCAR Sprint Cup Series.
And you got to look at the 2 teammates down on the bottom. They are hooking up, and they're making that bottom work right now. But if she'll just hang in there, and Boyer will get up there and give her a little shove, I believe she can hold the lead.
At the stripe, it'll be Hamlin on the inside, with help from last year's winner Matt Kenseth, his new teammate at Joe Gibbs Racing.
We keep using the word teammates. Danica Patrick, she doesn't really have a teammate out there right now. Tony Stewart, one of her teammates in the garage area. Ryan Newman way at the back of the pack. He's back in the 28th position, been struggling all day long.
Look out now, don't do that. That's a little edgy.
Little bobble and wobble there, as there may have been a little contact between Patrick and Boyer.
I think Boyer was wanting to give her a shove back to the front, but almost spun her out. Great job of hanging on to that thing.
Patrick will compete for Rookie of the Year honors this year. She's not a Daytona 500 rookie, however. Both she and Ricky Stenhouse, the two rookie contenders, did run in last year's race.
As a little old friend of mine used to say, I think Boyer wanted to rattle her cage a little bit.
2 by 2. 11's going to check this line up.
No.
She's on him. 2 by 2. Now she's not on him. Still 2 by 2.
Actually, Darrell, she just kind of got a little wiggly there without help from Clint Boyer.
I think she was trying to figure out which way she wanted to go. I think she might have been going to the inside and then darted back the outside, and that's what got her upset the car. Larry, there's no question, as this race goes on, we're coming up close to 100 laps here now. The intensity, it just keeps escalating. It gets higher and higher, and these guys get less and less patient.
Meanwhile, the inside line, led by Jimmy Johnson and Jeff Burton, trying to inch closer to the front and challenge Matt Kenseth for the lead. 6 laps to halfway.
The Daytona 500 on Fox is sponsored by Coca-Cola. Follow the Coca-Cola Racing Family Road Trip on Twitter at Coca-Cola Racing. Time for the AT&T Mid-Race Report. Chris Myers here. Glad you're watching the 55th running of the Great American Race. Danica Patrick added to Daytona history moments ago, the first female to lead a lap in the Daytona 500. On lap 33, Casey Kane and Kyle Busch triggered an 8-car wreck. Tony Stewart, Kevin Harvick, a couple of the favorites in this race were taken out. So Darrell Waltrip, what are you looking for here in the second half?
Chris, I told everybody that would listen to me that Danica Patrick could win this race. I firmly believe she's still in the race in great position at halfway through this race. Do not count her out.
At DW, she's taking care of the details. She has a fast car, but when she comes off pit road, she says to her crew chief, Tony Gibson, 4,600 RPM, I'm in second gear, and I leave on your call. To which he says, 10-4, Larry Mack.
Steve, Matt Kenseth, he showed speed this entire speed weeks, but remember, not with Roush Fenway, with Joe Gibbs Racing. He's won 2 of the last 4 500s. Maybe he can get that third one, but driving for Joe Gibbs.
Larry Mack, Jeff Gordon's chasing a fourth Daytona 500 win, but he has seen just about everything today. Water pressure and water temperature issues. He's been dropped back mid-pack, trying to make his way back up to the front. Alan Gustafson told him, I know the balance is good, but keep an eye on your water pressure and temperature. This final less than 100 laps to go, Mike Joy.
Hard to believe it's been more than 20 years since the halfway leader went to Daytona 500 victory lane. Davey Allison with crew chief Larry McReynolds' car and a Robert Yates, Chris, 1992.
But, Mike, the Generation 6 car, Toyota hopes, is good for them in their 7th Daytona 500. They've yet to win one, but running 1-2 with Matt Kenseth and Denny Hamlin. So far, 10 different leaders and 15 lead changes. Kenseth has led the most laps. That is your AT&T mid-race report, and track position becoming as important as the actual lead over the second half of this race. We're glad you're watching NASCAR on Fox. The Daytona 500 on Fox is sponsored by Sprint. Millions of fans, one family. Only Sprint can feed them all. Join the family at sprint.com/speed.
105 laps complete. Race Grand Marshal James Franco looking on. 50 Cent atop Mark Martin's pit box. And Matt Kenseth, your race leader. 5 Toyotas, 3 Chevrolets, 2 Fords in the top 10 at 105 laps, 95 to go. Let's go back to the last pit stop. Now, we mentioned Danica Patrick has the final pit stall at the end of pit road. And Greg Biffle comes out of his stall, 1 lane up from the bottom. Here comes Patrick. Up near the traffic, and Biffle commented afterward.
That's where the camera's at, but I guess her crew chief told her to run everybody out through the grass. It'll be a long year if they're going to play like that.
More efficient to go straight ahead than it is to try and turn and go. It's all right.
Yeah, it'll be fine. She'll take care of herself.
And that's a situation where if they could see what we could see, they might change their opinion. They were coming out 3 wide, and Danica's just coming out of her pit box. She may have been able to hold a little tighter line, but they were already bottled up right there.
Well, and also just past the exit to pit road curves sharply to the left. That'll throw things off just a little bit. But Patrick, the pole sitter, is third. You see her just in front of our Fox gyro cam on board the 4th place car of Clint Boyer. Matt Kenseth and Denny Hamlin, Toyota teammates, are your leaders.
Mike, just watch that camera. The car is going straight down the straightaway, and watch how quickly it goes up into that 31-degree banking. I mean, there it goes all at once. That's what it feels like. Now you're riding through the corner, and you're really just looking out the left corner of your windshield. As you come off this corner, watch how this thing flattens right back out, and that's where you really have your work cut out for you.
And let's stress, there is no camera operator tilting that view for you. That camera's on a gyroscope. It remains vertical. The car does not remain horizontal as Clint Boyer hits 199 miles an hour into turn 1.
And you see the banking in the tri-oval, how it's a lot less than it is in the bank up in the corners here, but still, you come out of the banking in the tri-oval, the car gets really difficult to drive at that point.
Early contender Kyle Busch now finds his Toyota mired mid-pack in 20th place. Krista?
Mike, the reason on the last stop they had to come back down and spend a little bit of extra time fixing the side skirt. You'll remember on the earlier stop back on lap 71, the car fell off the jack. The side skirt on the left side is now bowed out a little bit. The question, though, was it an effect of the jack slipping, or was it the cause of the jack slipping? Was the side skirt already bowed out to start? They're unsure of that, but that's what they fixed, and that's how Kyle fell back to about 16th right now.
Do you recall what they did in practice yesterday? They came in their pit box. They measured that jack stop. So they either were cutting it way, way too close, or they had a mistake in what they were trying to accomplish there, because they checked that yesterday during practice.
Down to the inside, Juan Pablo Montoya back in the race along with his teammate Jamie McMurray. They were involved in that lap 33 crash.
Now we're riding with Michael Waltrip. Remember, started in the 29th position in this 26 car. Right now he's in 6th spot. Remember, on the restart he was leading this race because he stayed out. The reason he stayed out, he was one of the last drivers to pit under those green flag pit stops. But should we go about another 6 to 8 laps, he's going to have to make his green flag stop probably about 8 laps sooner than the other driver.
But I got to tell you, there's a viewing party going on up in Newtown today, and there's got to be a bunch of folks that's watching this race, and hello to every one of you that are just having the time of their life right here watching this car. It's actually led the race. Michael's in the top 10 here with the car. What a great job.
The emblem of the town of Newtown is on Michael Waltrip's car, and if you text Newtown to 80888, you'll make a $10 donation to the Sandy Hook Elementary School Relief Fund. Dale Earnhardt Jr., 8th place. Fans, you can win the all-new 2014 Chevy Silverado and meet Tony Stewart. Enter for your chance to win at winthenewsilverado.com.
And Larry, I think they made Junior's car a lot better than it was when this race started. Maybe best it's been all week because he's running in the top 10 and he was struggling to keep up early.
The number 2 qualifier and early leader of the Daytona 500 is Jeff Gordon. He led 31 laps today, but now he is dropped back out of the top 20, Matt.
Mike, problems and concern continues for Jeff Gordon and his engine. He says the water pressure and temperature continues to be a problem. Alan Gustafson told him, just drop back, try to go into prevent mode and save the car as much as possible so we can get close enough to the end where it won't be an issue.
That started when they had that paper on the grill at the beginning of the race, I guarantee you, and it's gotten worse.
88 laps to go in the Daytona 500 on Fox. From high above Daytona International Speedway, 116 laps complete in this year's 500, 84 to go. As you look at Lake Lloyd, Matt Kenseth, Denny Hamlin, Danica Patrick are the first 3. 2 Toyotas and a Chevrolet lead this fast freight train around the high groove at Daytona International Speedway. Kenseth has led the most laps today, trying to become the first back-to-back winner of the Daytona 500 since Sterling Marlin in 1994 and 5. Cale Yarborough did it. Richard Petty did it. They're the only ones to win it back-to-back.
Mike, we're coming up on almost 2 hours of racing. You sit out there, you mentally process so much information. Things about your car, things about where you're running on the track. You're really starting now to look you're fast forwarding to the end of this race, and what have I got to do to get myself in a winning position, and what is that winning position?
Riding in third place with Patrick behind Hamlin and Kenseth. the two teammates. David Gilliland off pace on the bottom of the racetrack. He had trouble early, lost a plug wire. They replaced it, and he got back on track. Now, earlier we heard about the troubles of early race leader and outside pole sitter Jeff Gordon. Jeff Hammond has more.
Yeah, Mike, we take a look here at the 4 touchscreen. You can see air going through the grill is what we're talking about here. Now, Matt Yoakum was referring to what the water temperature and what the water pressure was. Now, folks, when you're going around the racetrack, this is where the water temperature is actually located on our car. Here's where the water pressure is. When the water temperature goes up, you see it goes about 260, you start losing water pressure because it's pushing it out. And if it loses too much, you push all that water out, you lose that pressure. If it goes to here, you have definitely cooked this engine and you're going to be in a lot of trouble. You're not going to be able to get up there and challenge to be able to win the Daytona 500 like he'd like to. As the latter part of this race winds down, if he's done this to this engine, he won't be able to stick in there like he needs to when he needs to push it the most critical part of this race.
If they can catch a caution, Jeff, maybe they can rectify this problem. 1 year ago, Matt Kenseth had water pressure and water temp issues. They rectified it, and he went to victory lane at the end of the night.
And that's what they're banking on, Larry. They're banking on something happening here somewhere along the way, another debris caution or something on the track that will give them an opportunity to fix this car.
Tony Stewart is back on track. Of the 8 drivers involved in the pileup at lap 33, all but Kevin Harvick have returned to the speedway, which leaves Harvick alone in the garage with Joe Nemechek, who had an unrelated problem with his car. Aerodynamics have been a big story at Daytona, particularly airflow over these brand new Chevys, Fords, and Toyota. Time now for KFC Fresh Off the Wire update. Matt Yoakum.
Mike, earlier in Speedway, we saw a lot of issues with the right side windows, either starting to come loose or actually blowing out. NASCAR had the teams beef up their brackets around that window. And good news for Jimmy Johnson. He reported that his window on the right side was buffeting it a little bit, but no issue at this juncture. And Chad Canals also had a discussion with Jimmy, and I talked to Chad. He says at this point he's not concerned.
3 issues with drivers and side windows or side nets in the races thus far. None today. And that's what's fresh off the wire.
What about that mirror combination Jimmy Johnson has there, Mike? Look at that one that's down low there that he can get a real good view of the whole right side of his car so he doesn't squeeze up in front of somebody.
No, Jimmy Johnson's probably concerned about his window, but Michael Waltrip in that 26, we talked about him, he's going to have to come to pit road here in the next lap or two, because now he's getting to the point where he's up to about 45 laps, which is on the high side of the fuel window.
But he's sitting in there. He's probably been milking this thing pretty good, Larry, in that draft where he's riding, so he can stretch her out.
Green flag stops coming.
The Daytona 500 on Fox is sponsored by Chevrolet. Find new roads.
Aerial coverage today provided by Goodyear. Everything we learn making tires that face the grueling demands of NASCAR inspires what we roll into yours. Goodyear, official tire of NASCAR.
Well, I think Danica got herself in a bind right here, Larry. I think these guys are getting ready to pit, and she got shuffled up on the outside right there.
Michael Waltrip has made his stop, and the inside lane, led by Matt Kenseth, is coming in.
Well, unless she wasn't going to pit with everybody, but she still got Jimmy Johnson out there with her.
Krista?
The Toyotas pitting together. Jason Ratcliffe reminding his driver, Matt Kenseth, your number is 20. Remember, he's with a new team. He said his car is neutral and clean air, and that's where he's been. Matt?
And Denny Hamlin comes to a stop. They're going to go 4 tires on this stop. That way, it gives them options later on. Meanwhile, the 15 of Clint Boyer, all quiet on his radio. He's been somewhat pleased with his car. The Toyotas are away.
Matt Kenseth of that group will be first off pit road. And Patrick still in the high lane, no intention of pitting this time.
Well, Larry, Mike, we heard her say that, you know, she just been kind of pedaling along there in the draft. So she thinks she has a lot of fuel left.
Here's what she had to say about Matt Kenseth when Kenseth was leading that big pack. I'm sorry we don't have it, but Patrick said Kenseth must be using more fuel at the head of the pack than she was at part throttle, so she believes she can go a couple of laps further than the man who was the race leader when pit stops began.
And that's okay, as long as she has dance partners that come to pit road with her. You can't just keep running out there by yourself. You'll be 2 seconds slower than everyone that's in the draft.
Yeah, Jeff Burton and Paul Menard made their pit stops and come back out. Kevin Harvick returns to the race.
Larry, I believe this is a very decisive moment in this race for that 10 car. What are they going to do?
Well, I think the good thing, just a few drivers behind her, you've got Jimmy Johnson in the 48, you have Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the 88. I'm sure they're communicating with those crews, all run the Hendrick engine package, possibly come to pit road together.
And this is when by now you have a lot of fuel mileage information. So you know kind of how much further you can stretch it out.
Here's the other agenda. Her crew chief, Daytona Beach-born Tony Gibson, a veteran of this series, said, we want to lead some laps today. They're doing just that.
This may be I think they're getting ready to come, Larry. Yeah, here they come.
Joey Logano flashes by. Greg Biffle comes on to pit road with Patrick and 5 others, including Jimmy Johnson. Almirola is in, and now another half dozen behind them, including Jeff Gordon. So she'll have lots of company coming out of pit road. Matt?
And Mike, we could be seeing different strategies in the Hendrick camp. Jimmy Johnson, they're going to make a chassis adjustment to tighten him up a little bit. Meanwhile, he's going 4. Steve, the 24 is going 2.
I like going 4 tires right here because everyone can make it to the end on one more stop. Steve.
Just saw Greg Biffle. He says the car is smooth. Danica Patrick, 4 tires. She leads when the jack drops.
And at least one car works past her coming off of pit road. Joey Logano comes in now. He surrenders the lead. First time the 22-year-old from Middletown, Connecticut's led today. His Marcus Ambrose coming in with him. And both the Penske cars are in, Logano and series champ Brad Keselowski right in front of him.
Yeah, Danica gets such a short, she can't get going. She's got a little wheel spin there, and it really cost her. Everybody else is already on the roll when they get to her, and it's cost her a couple of spots. But overall, great stop.
Leader is the Tasmanian Marcus Ambrose. That time by in the other Richard Petty Ford, teammate to Eric Almirola, past champion of the Australian V8 Supercar Series. And there goes Ambrose. Got a little close for comfort coming off pit road this time.
Yeah, well, remember what I told you about ramping up, getting more and more aggressive? Well, even off of pit road, you're going to get more and more aggressive, and you're not going to take anything now. You're not going to give anything. You're going to take a lot.
All the way out, D, all the way out, baby. Outside the 88.
Matt Kenseth is back to the lead with 69 laps to go in Daytona.
The Daytona 500 on Fox is sponsored by the entirely new Ford Fusion. There's still one thing it can't do.
135 laps to go. Fox Fantasy Auto Racing, presented by Ford, starts today. Pick your team of 5 drivers each week and compete for prizes all season long. Sign up today at foxsports.com/fantasy. 65 laps to go with NASCAR Hall of Famer Darrell Waltrip and 2-time Daytona winner Larry McReynolds. I'm Mike Joy. Matt Kenseth has been in command for 73 of 136 laps. His Toyota teammate Denny Hamlin right behind. In fact, the whole front 5, including Boyer, Kyle Busch, and Mark Martin, along with 6th place Martin Truex, driving the new Camry. Then Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the new Chevy SS, and Greg Biffle in the new 6th generation Ford Fusion. On pit stops, Danica Patrick to 9th, Jimmy Johnson 10th, and those 10 cars are trying to motor away from the field.
Yeah, and the thing I guess you got to sit here now and kind of rack your brain about is, how do I get by these guys? Because we haven't seen anybody be willing to go to the bottom, but you are back there. She is, Danica, with Dale Jr. and Jimmy Johnson in a 48. They're going to have to do something to get by all those Toyotas, though.
Yeah, those 6 Toyota drivers, remember, they were some of the
trouble.
first.
Turn 1, guys.
One car down, spinning. Trevor Bayne up to the wall, collects another. That is Carl Edwards. The 5th wreck that Edwards has been involved in this spring. The 34 of David Reagan involved, and that's the 35 of Riverside, California's Josh Wise. We're under caution for the 4th time today.
Something happened to a car going into turn 1, as if it just, I don't know who it was. You'll have to take a look at it, but they lost it going into turn 1.
See Austin Dillon there in the 33, damage to the front end. Trevor Bayne, we mentioned him, the 21. Terry Labonte in the 32 car as well.
Josh Wise all torn up, and his teammate at Front Row Motorsports, David Reagan and David Gilliland. My goodness, all 3 of the front row cars of Bob Jenkins taken out in this pileup.
Let's see what happens here. I looked up, I
Single
saw a
file
car
in front of you,
spinning. I
behind
couldn't
you.
tell why.
27 is the first car out of line in front of you. Oh. Hold it, hold, no caution. Caution is out. Caution is out. Caution is out.
Here's Brad Keselowski on the outside of Carl Edwards. Rudeman just ahead.
Let's see what happens here. I just looked up, I guess it was the 2 car. I saw going, looked like he was down on the apron sideways. Ooh, looked like possibly.
But it looked like they started accordioning up in front of Brad Keselowski.
Very similar to what we saw at the start of the race, Larry. Just somebody slowed up a little bit, and it caused that accordion effect.
Ricky Stenhouse Jr. in the 17, he just basically stopped, and he went on by.
Now, Joey Logano was not involved, but they're working on his car. Pit road back at the fuel cell area. There is Austin Dillon. And David Reagan's not going to make it back, nor is his teammate David Gilliland.
Larry, that 22 car looks like they have some kind of fuel issue. They're in the trunk right now.
And his teammate Brad Keselowski in practice the other day had fuel delivery issues. Almost looks very similar.
Trevor Bayne, the winner of this race 2 years ago, and Ricky Stenhouse Jr. You see right side damage on his Ford from Roush Fenway Racing.
He did get damage.
A little bit. I think he just scraped the wall. I don't think it's bad.
2-time champion Terry Labonte and rookie Austin Dillon all involved. And a nightmare season continues for Carl Edwards. The 5th major crash he's been in 30 days here in Daytona. We're under caution.
The Daytona 500 on Fox is sponsored by Toyota. By Disney's Oz, the Great and Powerful, in theaters March 8th. By AT&T, Rethink Possible. And by Budweiser, great times are waiting. Grab some buds. Time for an AT&T race break, brought to you by the nation's largest 4G network, Rethink Possible. Glad you're watching NASCAR on Fox on the 55th running of the Daytona 500 with 60 laps to go. Danica Patrick making history as the first pole sitter for this race. There's her owner-driver, Tony Stewart. She did not lead early. Let's check on how she did on pit stops. An early sample cautious, but then in this one, she came in 8th and came out 2nd on lap 90. She led for the first time, has led a total of 5 laps, slipped to 23rd for a lap in this race, but is currently in the top 10 as we are under caution and a serious contender. Moments ago in that wreck, as Carl Edwards has had a miserable speed weeks, his 4th wreck here in Daytona. In fact, he called it the worst speed weeks ever for him. The popular Ford driver in the 99 car caught up in this wreck moments ago, which involved 9 drivers, including Brad Keselowski. Audio from Carl Edwards.
Watch yourself, watch yourself, watch yourself. Outside, we just got wrecked. 21 wrecked.
And earlier, the 8-car wreck took out Tony Stewart and Kevin Harvick. They're back on the track. Carl Edwards' car off the track at the moment. And Matt Kenseth, your leader, in fact, Toyotas have the top 6 spots. Kenseth has led the most laps today, but this is worth thinking about. Drivers who've led the most laps have not won the last 9 Daytona 500s. This has been an AT&T race break brought to you by the nation's fastest LTE network, AT&T. Rethink Possible.
We're proud to announce our Fox Sports Supports charities for 2013 are Feeding America, Johns Hopkins Medicine, and Stomp Out Bullying. We'll raise awareness for these organizations all year long on all Fox Sports networks and platforms. We're proud to support the work they do to make a difference in people's lives. To learn more, foxsportssupports.com. Here's an inside look with the free NASCAR Mobile 13 app and truly unlimited data on the Sprint network. 40-year-old Matt Kenseth from Cambridge, Wisconsin, has led the most laps, and he is your leader under caution with 57 laps to go in the 55th running of the Daytona 500 on Fox. Aerial coverage provided by Goodyear. Everything we learn making tires that face the grueling demands of NASCAR inspires what we roll into yours. Goodyear, official tire of NASCAR. We'll go back to green in one lap. Carl Edwards is out of the race and with Kristen.
And he is still sitting in his race car in the garage. He waved us over in order to see this replay. Carl, what are we watching here?
Well, I shouldn't have got out of the line in the first place, but I can tell you riding around up there in line is not a lot of fun. So we're going down the front straightaway here, and I was just looking for a hole to get back in, and somebody got turned sideways, and I ended up running into Trevor. So frustrating. This has not been fun. My guys, they're not quitting though. We're working hard. They've already told me they're ready to go to Phoenix and dominate. We're not getting held down this year. It doesn't matter how many cars we wreck here. We're fighting to the very end. We're going to go we're going to go to Phoenix now and win that thing. But it's a very frustrating day for Fastenal, and now just go out there and hopefully cheer on another Ford to victory.
All right, Carl staying in the car because, as he said, his team feverishly working, trying to get this 99 back out on the racetrack, Mike.
Thanks, Krista. Lengthy cleanup down in turn number 1, and as Edwards indicates, it's difficult to pass out there. We've seen a lot of freight train racing, which led Danica Patrick to have this conversation with her spotter.
It's not a good idea to be learning and taking chances up here in the top 10. So, you know, hopefully I don't get shuffled back, but, you know, that's why little eyes and ears out there just to see if something's sticking or working. You know, feel free.
I sure will.
I think what she doesn't want to do is she doesn't want to make a mistake. She's in the top 10. She's been running up front all day long. I think she'd like to figure out a way to get back up to the front, but she doesn't want to take any risks or chances to do it.
And we know everyone will have to make one more pit stop.
Audio from Dale Earnhardt Jr. and his team.
I really ain't got an idea what this thing's going to look like at the end. Just go into the bottom groove, I guess. See what happens. But if we don't have a yellow late, for sure we're considering how this race is ran so far. I'm pretty sure we're going to get something that spikes up the end there.
You like the top groove at the beginning of the race. A lot of drivers did. Now maybe the fast lane is the bottom. That's the lane where Matt Kenseth will take this restart from, alongside teammate Denny Hamlin. Green flag with 54 laps to go.
Well, the bottom is a good place to be, particularly if you're trying to get in front of somebody. You can crowd them a little bit, but you know, they probably worn the top out, Larry. They're ready to try the bottom for a while.
Here comes Boyer on the inside. And that number 15.
Danica Patrick in the 10. She's in the middle, in the sucker hole, getting shuffled back. Now that smoke you saw, that's just a speedy drive that they put down, the oil drive.
Boy, this is the worst place Danica's been all day.
Oh, big smoke from one car down the back straightaway on the inside there.
I think that's a stay drive, Mike.
Yeah,
down into turn 3.
It goes all the way down the back straightaway. You can still see it even on the apron in 3 and 4.
Treacherous right here, boys. These tires are on the car. They ran all those caution laps. Treacherous going right here.
Patrick looks to the inside and comes down behind Dale Jr. in front of Paul Menard. Still right in the thick of things here in 12th place. Matt Kenseth in front. His dad was a great Wisconsin short tracker. His 17-year-old son Ross has a budding racing career in late models. Matt and his wife Katie with 2 young daughters, the youngest of which 2 years old, and he's trying to win his 3rd Daytona 500.
Well, you're going to have to do something, Larry, to break the stronghold that these Toyotas have all of a sudden kind of claimed. They're all running up front right now. Teammates all working together. That's going to be hard to beat.
Yeah, Greg Biffle, he's the only non-Toyota in the top 5. You can see right there, 1, 2, 3, 4. I want to mention one other Toyota that's up there in the top 10. Bobby Labonte in that 47 car. He has cracked the top 10. He is up into the 7th position. Bobby, another driver, never won the Daytona 500.
The bottom lane is looking like it has speed bumps in it. Clint Boyer was right up even with the 2nd place car, and now Boyer fights his way to the outside groove. Because the bottom wasn't working.
Kenseth's car is smoking now.
I saw that earlier going into turn 3, Larry. I know there was speed driving
at the bottom. He's back in line. He just said something about a little bit of blue smoke came out the left front.
Well, Matt Kenseth is making this look easy, but it is not easy. He is talking about another vibration. He just came on the radio before we saw that smoke and said, I feel it vibrating again.
Yeah, he's got some kind of issue with something in the front end. I'm not sure what it is, but that car's going to have to come to pit road.
And Darrell, a lot of it looks like it's coming out of the left front wheel area.
There it is. As Kenseth drops to the bottom.
It's either an oil leak of some kind or else a wheel bearing of some kind. But it's
vibration smoke and everything else looks good.
You can see right there over 10 miles per hour off to leader Denny Hamlin in the 11, his teammate.
Yeah, he's coming to pit road.
Hard break for Matt Kenseth.
What a dominant car, and to have something go wrong. That's Daytona, buddy.
It's a gear or something. It's shaking in the shifter real bad. It's a gear transmission or something.
That was Matt Kenseth, big vibration on Toyota number 20. but his two Joe Gibbs teammates are now 1-2. Denny Hamlin, and Kyle Busch has worked his way back to the front.
When they raise the hood, a lot of smoke come out from underneath that Matt Kenseth 20 car. You know, another driver that's worked his way back to the front, Jeff Gordon, that 24 car. Remember, he's been complaining about overheating problems. He's now back up in the top 10. Actually, trying to crack the top 5 in 6.
Hey, Larry, 50 laps to go, you got to go. You know, you can't worry about it. You just got to run until it blows if there's something wrong with it.
13 cars trying to drive away from the field. We will have at least one more pit stop. Matt?
Mike, those Hendrick bow ties trying to work their way back to the front. Jeff Gordon runs in 6, and Gordon, they're looking at strategy for later in the race with maybe 20 to 15 to go. He thinks you got to have 7 to 8 cars in the bottom to make his car work well there, which has so much speed. Meanwhile, his teammate right in front, Jimmy Johnson, Chad Canals, the previous stop, put 4 tires on that Chevrolet. He just asked Jimmy moments ago, looking at strategy for that last stop, if I give you fuel only, would you be okay with that? He said 10-4.
And here comes Kyle Busch to pit road.
He just started smoking.
Kenseth's teammate is on pit road. Kyle Busch, who has not led today. He's run as high as 2nd.
Krista, his looks different. It's coming out the exhaust pipe.
Yeah, completely different situations. He's talking about it blowing up. Matt Kenseth knows it was something with the drivetrain because he said when he put it in neutral, it stopped shaking. It isn't shaking so bad he couldn't see. Right now, they're trying to figure out what's wrong with his teammate, Kyle Busch.
Kaboom goes Busch. And now finally they're going to pull the pins and lift the hood. But they know his race is pretty much done.
Well, now Gibbs has got 3 great race cars. One of them was leading. He goes to the pits. 18 was up there. He goes to the pits. But who's leading now?
That'll be the 3rd Gibbs car of Denny Hamlin from Martin Truex's Toyota, Greg Biffle's Ford, and Jimmy Johnson's Chevrolet.
A gear or something.
Kyle Busch out of his car and in the garage in a matter of 2 minutes. Joe Gibbs had 3 of his Toyotas running 1, 2, 3, and suddenly Kenseth onto pit road with a vibration. Kyle Busch with apparent engine failure, leaving Denny Hamlin on point. And how nervous, Darrell?
Well, not only does he have to worry about his engine, he got to worry about his transmission, so he got a lot to worry about.
Martin Truex has come from the back of the starting field up to the front. It's been a long time. 203 races since this New Jersey driver won a Sprint Cup race. Greg Biffle in third. He has probably had the best of the Fords all week long here. Then Jimmy Johnson, past 500 champion in his Chevrolet, and Jeff Gordon, who led the first 31 laps of this race in his Hendrick Chevy. That is your top 5, ahead of Bobby Labonte, Marcus Ambrose, Clint Boyer, pole sitter Danica Patrick, and Regan Smith. The top 10. 25 cars on the lead lap. Let's crank it up.
Yeah.
100 miles and 1 pit stop to go in a race where passing has been at a premium. Matt Kenseth has led almost half this race, 86 laps, but he's in the garage area. Jeff Hamilton.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Thing is, right now, Matt, you were telling me during the break right there that they're getting ready to refire the engine. What do you think really happened, and can you get back out?
It's either a transmission or an engine. If it's a transmission, we'll get out. If it's an engine, obviously we won't. But you know, obviously disappointing end to a great day. But I really want to thank Joe Gibbs, Toyota, Dollar General, and the Home Depot for all them guys getting together and putting this deal together for me. We're obviously one of the cars to beat today, and I think we're gonna be a force all year. So we got a lot to look forward to.
You looked up, all of a sudden your teammate was coming down garage area. Do you know what happened to his car?
Yeah, I didn't totally hear you. I saw the 18 go by. I don't know what happened to him. You know, obviously we got to work and make it to the end of these races. You know, you can't drop out and win championships. But I feel like we got a great group back at Joe Gibbs Racing. They've been doing an awesome job all winter, and you know, hopefully we'll get it fixed. If we don't, we'll look forward to getting to Phoenix.
Thank you, man. They're working really hard right now, guys, to find out if they can get this 20 back out on the racetrack and get a few points.
Strategy at work here. Darian Grubb is the crew chief for Denny Hamlin, the race leader, and Greg Biffle's team trying to figure out when they are going to pit.
Well, we're about 10 to 12 laps from most of these drivers making a green flag stop.
39 laps to go, just less than 100 miles left to race in the Daytona 500.
Hey, Frank, stay high, stay in it, stay in it.
King gets around.
Oh, high.
Slides across the track.
We're junk.
More carnage.
Tore up, terrible. Hold brake. A big wreck in your mirror.
Two big pileups, and now 87 miles left to go in this Daytona 500. Denny Hamlin leading Martin Truex in Toyotas, Greg Biffle's Ford ahead of Jimmy Johnson and Jeff Gordon in Chevrolets, and a pit stop in the offing not far from now. Meanwhile, one of Thursday's Budweiser dual winners is in the garage with Jeff Hammond.
Thanks, Mike. Kyle, did your engine give you any kind of indication it was getting ready to cut loose?
No, it didn't, but it's really unfortunate. You know, we're all running 1, 2, 3. I think Matt's is a separate issue, but I blew the motor. So, you know, it's frustrating. You come down here and you have such fast race cars. You know, all the guys at Joe Gibbs Racing built us some awesome pieces, and you know, we were running 1, 2, 3 there, and it felt like we were dropping like flies. So, just something inside the motor broke that wasn't supposed to break, and you know, it put us out of the race. So it's a little devastating, you know, when you're running 1, 2, 3 like that, looking pretty good, and just going into your final pit stop so you can see what you can do towards the end of the race. But hopefully now the 11 can bring it home.
Thanks a lot. Guys, he shared with me just a moment ago that he really believes who's ever leading on that last pit stop will wind up winning the Daytona 500.
Well, passing has been at such a premium today.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask Larry. Larry, how am I going to get from 6th, 7th, 8th? How am I going to get up there? Because nobody wants to pull out and take a chance on losing the draft or getting shoved to the back. What are we going to do? Are we going to be able to do something magic on a pit stop? How am I going to get up there?
Well, we're only going to have maybe just a little over 1 can of fuel. So I think definitely just 2 tires, maybe that 1+ can of fuel. Biggest thing, don't get caught speeding, and my driver has to do a really good job of getting on and off pit road if it comes down to that green flag stop.
Hamlin, Truex, Biffle, Johnson, and Gordon. They are the front 5 in this roughly 12-car draft. Bobby Labonte, who finished 4th here 2 years ago. Marcus Ambrose, Clint Boyer, Danica Patrick in 9th. The next check box for that green car of Patrick, the best finish by a woman in the Daytona 500. 11th, Janet Guthrie, 1980. Patrick now in 9th, with Regan Smith in 10th, Eric Almirola, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. That's the 12-car lead pack.
Yeah, I watched those guys back there about Boyer back in the 15-car, Danica. They fall back a little bit, but they're able to pull right back up on the rear bumper of Marcus Ambrose. But I just don't see anybody with the juice to pull out there and make a pass.
Now, we're about 4 to 6 laps from green flag pit stops, but a couple of drivers that's in the top 10 that can go much further than the other ones is pretty much Marcus Ambrose in the 9 and Regan Smith in the 51.
Pit stops are coming, but you're not going to miss a second. NASCAR on Fox goes side by side. We're with you the rest of the way. 28 laps to go in the 55th Daytona 500. Denny Hamlin is the leader. Confirmed from the garage that both of his Joe Gibbs Toyota teammates, Kenseth and Busch, out of the race with engine problems. One pit stop to go. Martin Truex second, Greg Biffle's Ford. Jimmy Johnson, Jeff Gordon in Chevrolets, Marcus Ambrose in a Ford. Boyer, Patrick Smith, and Almirola, the top 10, and we're just a couple of laps away from these stops. The leader, in fact, maybe in this time.
Are you thinking, brother? What are you thinking?
I'm thinking all the Toyota drivers are nervous now, knowing that 2 engines let go.
Greg Biffle was going to stay out in that 3M car, but he joins the line, and here comes the lead pack back through about 9th place onto pit road.
No speed, no speed.
Matt.
And the 56 of Martin Truex Jr. They were talking gas only for the 11 of Denny Hamlin. He needed a tear off due to stuff all over the windshield. He was waiting for the go. He got the signal. Steve.
2-tire stop only for Greg Biffle. 2 tires and some gas. He's gone.
Gas only for Danica Patrick. She will not be the first to leave pit road. She's going to come out 5th or 6th under green and may lose another spot as you watch from her bumper cam. The leader is Regan Smith from Syracuse, New York area, driving for James Finch, single car team. Dale Earnhardt Jr. inside Smith as they come to pit road, along with Mark Martin and others. Krista.
Mark Martin saying he's a little tight, but the most important pit stop of the day will be fuel only for the 54-year-old Mark Martin.
29th try to win the 500. Junior hits his pit stall. Steve.
All right, Mike, we expect them to take 4 tires on the number 88 of Dale Earnhardt Jr. He had hoped that this track would get slicker, but in fact, 2 tires.
I was going to say, with as many drivers doing fuel only or just 2 right side tires for track position, 4 tires not the way to go.
No, I would not have done well. I wouldn't have done that either. I would have done what everybody, the majority did. I'd have just taken fuel and got the heck out of there.
And the leader, involved in a big dust-up earlier, a 9-car jam session in turn 1. Sprint Cup Series champion Brad Keselowski. And look who his drafting partner is, his Penske Ford teammate, Joey Logano. Matt.
And Mike, Martin Truex Jr. just came on the radio and told his team, my engine is blowing up.
Another Toyota coming to grief.
Remember, Michael Waltrip Racing, Joe Gibbs Racing, they get their engines from the same source, Toyota Racing Development.
And those cars have been running. I mean, they make a lot of power. We can see that. I mean, they were running top 6 at one time.
4 drivers on the lead lap have yet to pit.
Bad.
And here come 2 of them. Keselowski, along with Logano, teammates. Stenhouse still out there. Scott Speed and Michael Waltrip. Stenhouse is in. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. running for Rookie of the Year along with Danica Patrick, and they happen to have a relationship more so than just as competitors. Steve.
Mike, fuel only for the 17 car, Brad Keselowski. He's been struggling with the front end of that race car ever since he got caught up in that lap 32 dust up. And you see gas only Sunoco fuel for the 17 of Ricky Stenhouse.
Guys, I just want to tell you something. Business is getting ready to pick up.
Caution. Jeff Burton and his Cat Chevy have pounded the wall, leaving Scott Speeds out on the racetrack. Excuse me, we are still green. I said caution.
Yeah.
And now it's out.
Now on the front stretch.
I knew something was going on. Mike, I looked down there and they were all 3 and 4 wide. I said, man, we're a little early for that, but the caution was out.
Perhaps the least funded car in the field, Scott Speed, driving in a 2nd season for Levine Family Racing. The Formula 1 driver from California was the last driver to secure a race your way in spot to the 500 in Thursday's qualifying race. And he just led the 500.
So reminiscent of last year when we were sitting here with Dave Blaney leading the Daytona 500, wondering if the race was going to get restarted then. A little different scenario, but good to see Scott Speed in the lead.
Jeff Burton, veteran, had been a front runner much of the day. There's 2 cars together off in the distance. Here they come to the head end of pit road.
Well, it looked like either the right front just went down on it, or something broke on that 31 car. just as he was about to turn it off into the tri-oval.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened there. That was a hard hit, though. That thing pounded the wall.
Jeff Burton was running 19th. Veteran from South Boston, Virginia, whose son Harrison raced quarter midgets and now late models. That wheel tire is not turning at all.
Now with 23 laps to go, we still show 24 to 25 drivers still on the lead lap. Scott Speed and Michael Waltrip, the two drivers that's not pitted, but they'll have to pit because they can't make it to the end. They've not pitted since lap 141 and lap 145.
Well, we saw Tony Stewart yesterday. He was 21st on a restart with about 15 laps to go. Larry, would there be any value in coming down pit road, putting 4 tires on for good, being able to really have good grip and working your way back up there? Is that too big a gamble?
Darrell, I think before this race weekend, I would say it would be a great move. But I just think with that many drivers on the lead lap, I just don't want to give up track position.
We're under caution with 23 to go in Daytona. Down to Chris Myers.
Well, Mike, we've had 13 different leaders if we go back, and Brad Keselowski involved in 2 early wrecks. This on lap 33. Kyle Busch, who said, hey, my bad on the radio getting into Casey Kane. It took out Tony Stewart and Kevin Harvick. Couple of favorites in this race. Stewart, the owner, driver, and mechanic, getting his car back into it a little bit later with Harvick. And Danica Patrick in the top 10 most of the day on lap 90 leads for the first time. 5 laps led in this race, and Michael Waltrip, owner, driver, analyst, leading, and said he heard cheers all the way from Newtown, Connecticut. And then lap 138, Trevor Bayne gets into Keselowski. 9 drivers involved in this wreck, including Carl Edwards, whose miserable speed weeks continued, and Matt Kenseth, who has led the most laps in this race with engine problems, out of the race after he led much of the day. Meanwhile, Danica Patrick looking on as looks like Martin Truex's car getting some work on as well. And let's go back upstairs now to Mike Joy.
Thanks, Chris. 22 laps to go. Scott Speed, I'm a little surprised, did not choose to pit once pit road was open.
Oh, I think if I were a Scott Speed, I would ride around there till they gave 1 to go.
He's going to be at the back anyhow.
That's right.
Looking ahead to our coverage of Sprint Cup Series racing in the next few weeks. Be out in the desert, Phoenix, Arizona next Sunday for the Subway Fresh Fit 500, and in 2 weeks Las Vegas for the Cobalt Tools 400. Sunday, March 17th on the high banks of Bristol for the first short track race of the season in Tennessee. Fox Sports, your home for NASCAR Sprint Cup Series racing.
And Mike, we're going to see blazing speeds at all those racetracks.
We'll have the new 6th generation car with a double-size rear spoiler. When we get to these downforce tracks, things will be different. Scott Speed leads. Juan Pablo Montoya, Tony Stewart, Casey Kane, and Jamie McMurray, all damaged cars from earlier crashes, onto pit road. So he will surrender the lead at 21 laps to go to Brad Keselowski. "20 laps, 50 miles are going to be left to race here. So let's have a look at our sprint. 20 to go. Things to look for in the final laps of this race. There is Brad Keselowski, your race leader, under this caution flag. Defending series champion. Vocal, outspoken. 23 lead changes in this race. Danica became the first woman in the history of the Sprint Cup Series to lead a green flag lap earlier today. Denny Hamlin has spent 33 laps out in front of the field after starting 33rd, but both his teammates and another Toyota Truex in the garage recently with engine trouble. Danica Patrick, there is a graph of her day. She's been in the top 10 for most of the day and currently runs in 7th. Steve Burns.
With Tony Gibson, the crew chief for Danica Patrick, you guys have done so much right today, Tony. What's the strategy with 20 to go?
I don't know. I guess pray, because it's going to be pretty crazy right here, I guess. You know, Danica's done a fantastic job all day. Pit crew's done awesome. The GoDaddy Chevy SS has had a lot of speed in it. We got shuffled back a little bit. She was managed to get her way back up there. So I got a feeling right now it's getting ready to get interesting and a little nerve-wracking. So hopefully we can come out of this deal unscathed and see what happens here. But it's going to get hairy now.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Oh, by the way, I want to add with our sprint 20 to go, in our last 8 Daytona 500s, 7 of those 8, we had a caution that bunched the field back up with less than 5 laps to go, with actually 4 green-white checkers in those 8 races.
Spotters, crew chiefs, right now, they're all talking to each other, and you know what they're talking about? Let's make a deal.
Yes.
And then if we do make a deal, I hope you'll dance.
Well, NASCAR's 6th generation car has proved hard to pass. However, the first half of this race belonged to the Chevrolets. Jeff Gordon was out in front for much of it. Then the Toyotas took command, mostly with Matt Kenseth. Now, 3 of the top 5 cars are the new Ford Fusion.
Well, Mike, here's what I see. Somebody's got it. They got to get a group together on the bottom of the racetrack. You're not going to win this race riding around the top. So the question becomes, am I here to finish or am I here to win? And if you're sitting there leading the race, you're pretty comfortable. But somebody, a group of cars, have got to try to get down on the bottom and go to the front.
Larry, do you want your driver to wait and make that last lap pass, or when is the right time?
I think Tony Stewart told us over a week ago, you cannot wait to the last lap. And I think that's what we also saw in the Budweiser duels. I think you're going to have to do it well before that final white flag lap.
I agree.
Coming down to what could be the last green flag of the day. On the front row, Keselowski's Ford, Jimmy Johnson's Chevrolet. In row 2, the Fords of Biffle and Ambrose. Chevy and a Toyota in row 3. That's Patrick and Hamlin. Again, Chevy, Toyota, Gordon and Boyer. All these are lead lap cars. Mark Martin's Toyota, Ryan Newman's Chevrolet there.
Well, you know, Mike, with Keselowski's Ford, it's wounded a little bit. It hadn't been that fast since he got in a couple of those wrecks. He's restarting on that outside line. This is Jimmy Johnson and the inside line's chance to take advantage of that, because I'm not sure Keselowski's got the speed.
Johnson's crew chief Chad Knaus looks on. 25 cars on the lead lap. Here they come for the green flag with 19 laps to go. Three wide mid-pack. Keselowski with the busted nose of his Ford in the wind. Can he in the outside lane prevail as they come around?
Well, he's got a lot of help. Greg Biffle is right there, and we haven't spoken a lot about Greg Biffle today, but we know he has a great handling race car.
And Greg Biffle in that 16 was not bashful about pushing Keselowski down the back straightaway. And how about our 3rd place driver, Danica Patrick, up there, 18 laps to go, solidly in the top 5.
Jeff Gordon recovering from early overheating in 4th. Mark Martin, Jimmy Johnson side by side for 5th. Then Dale Earnhardt Jr.
I think it just shows anybody, you get up there with Keselowski's car, we know it's not 100%, but with the right help, with Greg Biffle pushing, he can stay up there, and I don't know. Can he hold him off?
Uh-oh, bumper jam right there. Patrick got up against Greg Biffle. Jeff Gordon backed off a little bit.
I think Danica's ready to go. I think she knows this is a great opportunity to get by Keselowski, and Biffle's the guy that could do it. But he's a real good team player, and that's a Ford in front.
Ford, Chevy. If Patrick makes the move inside, does Gordon go with her?
Oh, definitely. I think that's what it's going to take. It's going to take Danica, Jeff Gordon, but then you got guys sitting back there. Dale Jr.'s back there, and so is Jimmy Johnson. They need to get together, and soon.
Yeah, Jimmy Johnson in that 48 trying to pull that inside line. They lost a little bit of the ground. I think they're starting to chip back away, but not at a fast pace.
And Denny Hamlin, who's led the 2nd most laps today, has his number 11 behind Johnson on the inside lane and ahead of Clint Boyer's Toyota and Eric Almirola's Ford. But they are inching toward the front this time on the low side. They gain a car length. They're alongside Gordon. And here comes Johnson next to his Hendrick teammate and headed toward Danica Patrick, Chevy in 3rd.
Boy, this is when you just got to keep looking straight ahead. Don't worry about where those cars on the inside are, as long as you can maintain that 3rd spot.
16 laps to go. We're going to keep you side by side right here on Fox. Jimmy Johnson's Lowe's Chevrolet has come running up the inside and led the last lap by 6/1000ths of a second from Keselowski's Miller Lite Ford.
Well, Mike, this is what we've been wanting to see. This is what we've been waiting for. We knew when it got down 15 to go, 10 to go, this is what we were going to see. Now, what's going to happen?
Boy, Eric Almirola in the 43, he actually got shuffled to the inside. He looks going to lose a couple of spots. But look at him, 3 wide by 3 wide by 3 wide.
Behind the front 6, 3 abreast. 12 cars under a blanket behind the 6 leaders. And here they come for 12 laps to go. Can you hold your breath for 12 laps, Darrell?
Boy, I tell you, my heart is pounding right now. These guys and gals are putting on a whale of a show. What a way to end the Daytona 500.
Earnhardt behind Patrick, 4th on the high side, and now he's 3 wide with Jeff Gordon and Almirola.
And you know, you're in a box. Where are you going to go?
Boyer slipped up there in front of Logano, and that accordioned the middle line. The 22 of Logano.
And look at Dale Jr. right there behind Danica. That could be a potent combination.
He has definitely turned up the wick here. We'll be coming 11 laps to go this time.
Logano had to lift, lost his momentum, and that backed him up in the field. And now Keselowski is alone on point. 2 by 2, 4 rows behind him with 11 to go.
Larry, did you think that 2 car had this kind of speed in it?
Not out front. I mean, when you look at the front end's got tape and bare bond and everything else on it holding it together.
Unbelievable.
But you know what? You got a determined individual behind the wheel of that race car.
Oh, he'll wheel that thing around here. We know that. But look at it. It looks like it's been in a war.
Last year, Keselowski won Roger Penske's first Sprint Cup Series championship after some 30 years of trying. Today, he's trying to give the captain his 2nd Daytona 500 victory. 10 laps to go. 25 miles left in this Daytona 500.
Darrell, is it safe to say Brad Keselowski's driving as much out the back window as out the windshield?
He's going wherever he sees them get the move, get the run. That's where he goes. But here goes Jimmy Johnson. Can he get up off the corner with him and hold it down the back straightaway?
While we were in commercial, we saw Keselowski change lanes in front of Johnson.
He's pushing. He's nobody behind him. He's pushing you out in front. He's off you now. He's off you.
Look how much that push by Greg Biffle shot him ahead of Jimmy Johnson in the 48.
That may be just what, well, I don't know. There goes Keselowski back to the outside. He knows that's the fast line. He probably doesn't want to give that up, but he's getting down there looking at Jimmy Johnson alongside as well. And here comes Johnson. Here he comes. Can't quite clear him.
And Keselowski has the momentum on the outside.
Caution's
he
out.
has Biffle. And caution is out.
3 wide. Caution is out. Up
For
top 3 wide.
debris low in turn number 2, and everybody gets a chance to catch their breath.
Announcers are happy, get to catch their breath. Drivers are happy. Crew chiefs are smiling.
Now, what will be interesting, the way they reset the field is by how you cross the last scoring loop. Does it make a big deal? Sure it does, because it determines maybe inside or outside line where you'll restart.
Terry Labonte will get the free pass on this caution flag, which is the 5th of the day. Now, as if Keselowski didn't have enough damage to the front end.
Whoa, a big piece of aluminum right there. Didn't seem to hurt anything. It could be, you know what, Larry Mike, it could be off of his own car the way that thing looks.
It came off several miles ago.
What about Jimmy Johnson, Matt?
Chad Knaus asking for the binoculars, Mike, because he was telling Jimmy to go ahead and just save fuel, meaning to stay out, and Jimmy says, whatever was on the racetrack, I pile drove it in the center of my grill. So they're going to take a look and see what, if any, cosmetic damage they have to the 48.
I saw it bounce off Keselowski's car. I do not think it was a piece of aluminum like a crush panel out of one of the wheel wells. Don't think it did any damage whatsoever. Let's see if we can.
Leader is Johnson. There's the debris. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but you can see how it's so light. It's just a piece of aluminum from one of the crush panels. I don't think that's a problem.
Doesn't look like it did any damage. Steve.
Brad Keselowski just told his team, whoever is going 3 wide behind us is killing our lane.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so 10 to go. What do you want me to do? I'll pass it along. I don't think it's going to do any good.
Johnson, Keselowski, Hamlin, Biffle, and Boyer. Pole sitter Danica Patrick in 6th. Logano, Earnhardt, Jeff Gordon, Mark Martin. There's 25 cars can still win the Daytona 500.
Yeah, and he might be running 25th, too, right now.
Be hard-pressed to tell any of those 25 drivers they can't win.
I'll do the best job I can to do my end of the deal today.
I say we're going to keep her up front and let's make her fun.
I know my Danica was on the pole and you just drove right by me. Good, go, 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 go. Straight out, straight out.
Nice job, guys. Done a nice job all day. Thank you.
By starting from the pole and by leading a green flag lap, Danica Patrick's already made NASCAR history today. She will restart 6th with 6 laps to go. That's her crew chief, Tony Gibson, talking to a member of Greg Biffle's team. Biffle will line up right in front of her on the outside, rows 2 and 3 behind Jimmy Johnson. It's Johnson versus Keselowski on point. There are just 6 laps to go.
Yeah, and then that outside line now has the hot rods in it. Jimmy Johnson's car is fast, 16's right there. I think Danica and Biffle might think they can do something with Jimmy Johnson if they get the chance.
Pace car dives in. Chevy, Ford, front row. Toyota, Ford, Toyota, Chevy, and here they come.
Danica is right up against the back of Biffle. Biffle right up against the back of Jimmy Johnson, and they head off to turn 1. The race is on.
Building from 70-mile-an-hour pace car speed up to 190 miles an hour by the time they hit turn 3, and Johnson's in command.
Greg Biffle sat behind his teammate last year, Matt Kenseth, and pushed him to the very last lap, and Dale Jr. slid by at the end of the race. Biffle's in a great position right now.
Darrell, do you stay in the high groove if you're up front?
You got to, Mike. You cannot move right now. There's no way.
3 wide behind the top 10 as Jeff Gordon tries to bust out of the middle and come up to challenge.
That outside line is definitely moving. You can see Brad Keselowski on the inside getting smaller and smaller in that 2 car.
Yeah, what you'd really like to have happen, Biffle and Danica particularly, is these guys on the outside can clear the inside guys, then it gives them some options.
How about Dale Earnhardt Jr.? You're riding with him, pushing Danica Patrick down the back straightaway.
And pushing is okay on the straightaway. Troublesome in these corners at these speeds. Keselowski and Hamlin in the 11 on the inside with Logano. Trying but unable to close up on the outside lane.
We talked about teammates all day long, and here's Jimmy Johnson, and right behind him is Greg Biffle, but then comes 2 more teammates in Danica Patrick and Dale Earnhardt Jr. That could be a big gain.
4 laps to go.
There is no telling how much Greg Biffle in that 16 car wants to win the Daytona 500. He's come close. He's had a great speed weeks, and here he is in 2nd place behind Jimmy Johnson.
But Larry, with this car, we haven't seen conventional wisdom pay off. I think that Greg Biffle right now is trying to think about what do I need to do to get by Jimmy Johnson and win this race.
And right now, Johnson's not running the high groove or the bottom groove. He's almost running the middle of the racetrack through 3 and 4.
Wouldn't you?
I think that Biffle and Danica and Dale Jr., they very well might make a move on Jimmy Johnson here before too long.
Should the caution flag come out before the leader takes the white flag, we'll attempt a green-white checker finish, and we'll try that up to 3 times if necessary. Once the leader takes the white flag, the next flag, caution or checker, ends the race.
The only problem with going a little early, which I'd love to be able to do, but if I don't make the pass or if I don't get where I want to go, I may lose a lot of positions coming to the checker.
Jimmy Johnson is a Daytona 500 winner, but over the last 6 500s, he's finished no better than 27th, and last year he completed only 1 lap.
Well, Mr. Lonely is lonely right now, and he's loving every minute of it.
Darrell, I believe somebody's going to have to do it here in the next little bit if they're going to make something happen.
Ryan Newman over 200 entering the corner. And look who's up there in the top 10. Regan Smith, J.J. Yaley, Michael McDowell, drivers with small teams challenging the powerhouses of this sport with 1.5 laps to go.
You know what they are praying for? That it finishes just like this. Let me finish right where I am. Up front, different story.
What a great payday for those teams.
Here they come, boys and girls.
Go now or finish second.
When we cross the start-finish line, it's a race.
You got hurt in about.
And oh, by the way, it's not over. It's just now on.
Darrell, keep an eye on Dale.
Oh, car in the wall, hard. Turn 1. And it's one of the BK cars. It's the 93 of Travis Quapple.
Let me know if
no
the
caution. NASCAR, if the track is clear, they will let them finish. We are still green. And here come the leaders.
Yeah, Mark Martin is really pushing Dale Earnhardt Jr. in that 88.
Jr. to the inside of Greg Biffle. The green flag still flies. Martin's number 55. Keselowski in the 2. Biffle backing up. Patrick behind him. For the second time, the Daytona 500 goes to Jimmy Johnson, 5-time champion from El Cajon, California, and his Rick Hendricks Chevrolet.
He can thank Dale Jr. for that. Second year in a row, Dale Jr. has come on late and finished second.
Danica Patrick, the pole sitter, becomes the highest finishing woman in the Daytona 500, 8th.
They were coming at her from every side. I mean, front, backs, left, right.
That group is a happy group, and he's a happy man. Not only because they won this race, since he won it in 2006, his average finish in the 500 outside the top 30.
And the reason we call him Mr. Lonely.
God, man, that's awesome. We got you one, buddy. You're here for it.
We call him Mr. Lonely because all they did in testing and practice and all that every time is just ride by themselves.
Jimmy Johnson's crew chief, Chad Knaus, will make his first trip to Daytona 500 victory lane. Johnson's last win came with Knaus on suspension. Today is Jimmy Johnson's 400th career Sprint Cup start. There's car owner Rick Hendrick.
Yeah, I'm on over.
I didn't want to use this fact earlier. I might jinx it.
Brother. Burn it down.
Look at who won in their 400th career start. Lee Petty, Richard Petty, David Pearson, Dave Marcus, Dale Earnhardt, and now Jimmy Johnson.
Slight bit of body damage.
That's last I remember.
61st career Sprint Cup Series win for Jimmy Johnson. He becomes the 10th multiple winner of the Daytona 500 and kicks off his 12th consecutive season with at least one victory. Top 10 for Danica Patrick. Best ever finish in the 500 by a woman. And here is the 5-hour energy big move of today's race. Jimmy Johnson holding off Dale Earnhardt Jr., who finishes second for the 3rd time in the last 4 500s.
Mike, at the end of that race, the last 5 or 6 laps, not a soul in this grandstand was sitting down. They were all on their feet, screaming and cheering.
Yes, they were.
Mark Martin in his 29th 500 finishes 3rd. Keselowski 4th. Newman 5th. Here's Matt.
And a history-making day for Danica Patrick. Top 10 finish, Danica. You had led laps, and you were sitting 3rd. We got ready to make the run for the finish. At that point, what was your game plan?
You know, I kept thinking about that the whole time. There was plenty of time. I mean, I spent most of the race running half throttle in the line. So you spend a lot of time thinking about what you're going to do when that opportunity comes. And, you know, I think that it's just tough to tell. You know, I kept asking up above what it looked like was working. And, you know, if you needed a hole, you needed people to help you out. I feel like you know, I had a little bit of help here today, here and there, but you know, I felt like if I were to dive low, I had a feeling I was going to get freight trained. So, you know, it was tough to tell. I mean, Dale did a good job of backing it up because it did look like we were getting away, and it felt like it too because we were flat. Like, we were not lifting those laps, and when you're 2nd and 3rd and so on, you do, and so we weren't. So I thought we were maybe just pulling away a little bit, but at the end of the day, it was. You know, it was a solid day for the GoDaddy car and the GoDaddy crew. They did a nice job in the pits. We stayed basically in the top 10 all day long, so can't really complain about that. It was nice. It was calm most of the time, but it was fun when it got a little exciting.
Mission accomplished, Mike Joy, 8th in Daytona.
Jimmy Johnson has become the 10th driver to win multiple Daytona 500s and gives car owner Rick Hendrick his 7th victory in the Great American Race.
Chris Myers welcoming you back to Daytona and the Sprint post-race show. The results are in. Jimmy Johnson, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Mark Martin, your podium finish in the 55th running of the Great American Race. A couple of Chevys, and Mark Martin at his 29th Daytona 500. Winds up third. Junior helping Jimmy, his teammate, across the finish line. And that last lap, back of the pack wreck. No caution thrown on the part of NASCAR. It is their discretion, figuring no serious danger to anyone on the track, and letting them race to the end in the 55th running of the Daytona 500 as Jimmy Johnson winning for the second time. He led the last 10 laps, led a total of 17 laps, and was steady all day. His fastest lap coming late in the race. Steve Burns is with Jimmy in victory lane.
Jimmy Johnson's second time you've won the Daytona 500, but it's been a bit of a drought since 2006.
It has. You know, plate racing is an awfully tough form of racing, and there's a lot of luck involved. I mean, this pack racing is a little different. You can't ride and wait for things to happen. You have to race all day long and fight for track position. And this race car, the slow Chevrolet, was so good. Chad Knaus and all of Hendrick Motorsports had me a fast car, and I could really stay up front all day long. And I had a lot of confidence this final few laps leading the train, so I knew just how fast this car was. So big credit to everybody at Hendrick Motorsports.
Jimmy, it seems like you guys had a very specific game plan from the moment you unpacked here in Daytona.
We did. I mean, we wanted to get this car to the 500. We knew it was the best car for us, and very happy to have it in the 500, and it certainly did its job for us. So I just want to give a big shout out to all the fans, and also want to send my thoughts and prayers out to everybody yesterday that were injured in the grandstands. Go to Lowe's, buy some stuff. Spring's coming. Go buy a Chevrolet. I'm very happy to win the first Gen 6 car. We're racing the Gen 6 car for Chevrolet and their SS. An awesome day.
All right, Jimmy, thanks so much. Congratulations, Daytona 500 champion.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Let's go to Krista Voda.
Jimmy's teammate Dale Earnhardt Jr. doing everything he could to get by Jimmy, and he had some help from a guy that we've been talking about. You said you had the right guy pushing you.
Yeah, me and Mark were just kind of sitting there, and I was hoping he was thinking what I was thinking, so I was going to wait, back up pretty hard to him, and get a run off of 2 and try to see how what we could do in those last 3/4 of a lap, and just kind of ran out of steam off of 4. And Mark didn't get back to us. It just didn't work out just perfectly, but we made a good move, just not enough racetrack. Real hard to pass the leader. Jimmy did a lot of good things there early or late in the race to stay up front. Real happy with HMS engines. All the guys in the shop did a good job all season, working really hard trying to get these cars ready. This is a great finish for us, and we're going to be strong this year. Really excited about getting the season kicked off with such a good finish.
He thanked Mark for the push. He thanked his team for the car. Matt Yoakum?
Brad Keselowski's Ford looked like it had a rough night at Flat Rock or Toledo, and you almost had a chance to win.
Tracks for those weren't local tracks.
Exactly. You almost had a shot to win the Great American Race. Lane choice, the deciding factor, Brad?
Well, it didn't help. I needed to get a push from the 11. It looked like that lane got stalled on the restart, and I might have had a shot there, but certainly the high lane, I think we saw all day, had all the speed. And, I caught a break earlier in the race, about 30 laps before that, when the yellow came out right after we had pitted. We were probably going to cycle out about 5th or 6th, and we ended up cycling out in the lead. And that got us in the high lane and, kind of fighting with Jimmy. And then we caught a bad break when the yellow came out. And Jimmy was about an inch in front of us. We passed him. We were going to pass him, and we did pass him right after that when the yellow came out. But, that's just the breaks. We were fortunate to make it through some of the wrecks today with the Miller Lite Ford. And, I'm thankful for that. But, damn, I want to win this race. I don't want to just finish 4th or be happy not winning. But wasn't in the cars today, and we were lucky, like I said, to get through all that stuff. And one thing about this 2 team, we just we never gave up today, Maddie. So that's our spirit, and we're going to try to keep that to go for this championship this year.
Keep fighting on to Phoenix. Jeff Hammond?
Thanks, Matt. I'm here with Greg Biffle. Second coming to the white flag one more time. What happened coming down the back straight? Because it looked like you were in a catbird's position one more time.
Yeah, we were. I started backing up to Danica a little bit, and the 48 car started backing up to me. So that was, that was a little bit of an issue. But, we really tried to, the 88 lane way back, and he had such a run on the bottom. I just didn't think going down and blocking the 88. I figured I was going to get wrecked. He had too much of a head of steam, and the bottom really hadn't worked that well all day. And, I figured he was going to stall out down there, and I guess they just had enough cars lined up that they got a big run down there.
Well, a good, strong run there by Greg Biffle. Didn't quite get it done today, but Krista, he's fairly happy with what happened here at Daytona.
Well, so is Mark Martin, Jeff Hammond, and if you're a fan of this sport, then you were pulling for number 55 on that last lap. Mark Martin pushing Dale Earnhardt Jr. You guys trying to get by Jimmy Johnson. You were doing everything you could.
Yeah, that's a Daytona 500, and I'm just so grateful to Aaron's and Toyota and everybody that supports this effort to give me a chance. Rodney Childers and I just wanted a shot at it with 2 laps to go, and we had it, and it was right there. And, if things would have shuffled differently, maybe we could have got it, but it was a great effort. We had a really good run there, and just coming off of 4, I had a great run on Junior, but Brad was too far behind me to give me that shove, and we couldn't do anything with it. So it was just an incredible day. I can't believe these guys let me drive their car.
54 years old and so close. Matt?
Ryan Newman was chasing his second Daytona 500 win. So how would you describe those final couple laps?
Not as eventful as I thought it was going to be. I thought there was going to be another yellow, but congratulations to Jimmy and his guys. That was a great finish. It looked like from my standpoint. We mixed it up pretty good, but great day for Quicken Loans. Quicken Loans has got a Bring It Home sweepstakes. So go online, QLRacing.com. 5 people will get their mortgage paid for a month. On top of that, we got the Bloomin' Onion. So great day.
Crazy as you thought it would be?
I want to talk about my sponsors, man. No, it was crazy, no doubt, but I've been under the weather, and we went through a lot of stuff on pit road. So my guys did an awesome job to get my car back in contention to do what we did, and our best position all day was the last lap in 5th. So I can't say that we're entirely satisfied with that, but after our day, we'll take that.
All right. On to Phoenix, 5th place for Newman. Chris?
Thank you, Matt. This historic Daytona 500, and there is owner Rick Hendrick. You heard on the pre-race show his drivers talk about the teamwork. This is the 3rd time that Hendrick Motorsports has had a 1-2 finish in the Daytona 500. The 33rd time his drivers have finished 1st or 2nd in a NASCAR Sprint Cup race. But Jimmy Johnson, the 5-time champion, now a 2-time Daytona 500 winner, back in victory lane, and a lot more coverage from Daytona, Florida. You're watching NASCAR on Fox.